Hello and what? Wait, what's this? What's this? What do you mean? What do you mean you're not using my webcam? There we go. I said, what do you mean? Okay, so today, mainly going to be a little bit of a practice day. Not necessarily going to be pretty good on these starts, but we're just kind of looking to feel our way through them. I wanted to feel out Japan a little bit. I'm not sure exactly how I want to open the Japan run. I know there's a lot of different ways to do it. Probably just going to play conservative and actually just lean more RP and just let someone not do any sort of conquest before someone can, before someone opens up and unisolates us and opens our market, gets investment rights, and pulls us off of isolationism. I think that this is probably what people will prefer in terms of the RP, but I did want to see if maybe you could take Beijing at game start. You used to be able to. This isn't a strategy I've executed too often, so we're going to need to do that. I think we're going to need a boat fairly early. I've taken a close look at this before. I'm pretty sure we could take pieces of Manchuria, and that I think the ideal opener is not going after a Great Qing. I think the ideal opener is actually probably just trying to subjugate a bunch of South America countries and just never finish the wars, just declare it so you get your infamy decaying. In terms of, like, what's good for declaring wars on Japan on open, but, yeah. Alright, so let's get the texts that we probably would research. There's maybe an argument to military tech, probably not. The thing is you might be able to roll different variations of the Opium Wars that are going to significantly affect what you should do in the opening, but we're looking for something that's fairly consistent, so let's do that. Let's build a little bit of construction. We don't necessarily have to do everything perfect here, because we're just kind of testing to see what our opening war can look like. And maybe still function. After this, we will build a military shipyard and see if we can do some stuff. I guess we'll swap PMs. I think they're already all swapped, though, for that. Not going to do rice. We can't do tools because it's Japan. We're isolated. We don't have any tools in our market yet. Don't think we have stuff for that either. No, we do have a shipyard. Okay, we will swap. And then, after the military shipyard is built, we will set up our queue just a little bit. I think we will build one tooling workshop so we can go on to the sawmills. And then, executing this perfectly is not really going to be that important for the strategy. Let's go into decrees. We don't have enlistment efforts without mandatory service, right? We're capped at 25 either way. Hey, Yankees fan, thank you for the $10 dono. Why isn't Ethiopia on the list? Because Ethiopia is easy. You just roll people. Hey, the first coffee. How's it going? Play with Piratini. We do want to try Circassia. So Circassia gets a 5% throughput bonus on everything, and it maybe has the biggest theoretical economy in the game. Hey Mithy, how's it going? Long time not seen. Hope everything's fine. Everything's going pretty well. Pretty well. I'm trying to see. I think that we open stock exchange. So the thing is, you might be able to re-roll, like, Great Britain not doing the Opium War, and then mandatory service maybe making sense, and then you maybe going national militia or something. It's possible that what we're supposed to do is actually spam Hussars. The problem is we can't conscript up either Hussars or cannons, otherwise we would. But we can max out conscripts to make our army look as spooky as possible. We'll take a quick little save here too, because because it's a run test, or run start test, we're going to be saving a lot. Is there a good way to increase our power projection? We'll increase our power projection a little bit by increasing military wages. But the tools we have available here on Japan aren't really that great. Haven't really done too much Japan openers. My most successful was Transfer Korea, rushing Miltech, while Infamy decays. Haven't done that since 1.8. Yeah, I also, like, I don't necessarily want to do the most push thing possible. Generally, If there's a strategy that's super, super pushed, but I don't think viewers can replicate it, I'm less inclined to do that. Not that I would never do that, it's just less inclined. Alright, let's put down something like somewhat reasonable. To be fair, this gives us so much research early on. Makes us pass laws slower. Since this is a test for the Jewish Japan run, no matter what, we're opening with state religion, so we're just gonna open with that. That's a... we have a... Normally we have a lot more people supporting state religion. When I've taken a look at this before. This guy's naturally rolled. I could have sworn sometimes we have... the shogunate... I mean, it's not important for this run, but we'll do this. When I've taken a look at this a couple times, we've had like a 60% roll on state religion, so... because the shogun supports it, and I'm not sure why they don't know. Authoritarian? But this is always the guy, because he's green. This is not, like, fundamentally important, but... Okay. It's mainly I just want to see the opening war. There's some background noise? You mean, like, more than normal? There's some people kind of outside my window. I got France on the list, though they roll people almost as well as Ethiopia. Well, the France is, like, France into Germany, although I don't know how much time we're going to spend with that. I guess in theory we want to also improve relations. And maybe actually we should have saved now instead of... But we're watching for the Opium Wars here. Expecting to see a response to Opium Wars come soon. I'm just trying to think through the exact... So I think we need to get at least one boat. I know that we can very consistently take this during the Opium Wars. The problem is as soon as the Opium War finishes, we actually can't really... We don't have enough convoys to, like, run our army, like, on the other side of here very well. And they lose their really significant malice. But maybe we should just deck now on them. To be fair, we could get more cargo ports, a little bit more convoys. Oh, did I just not see it? I'm blind. Okay, so they have minus 50% offense and defense. Still think we want to open with construction sectors. It sounds like a fan. I don't remember hearing it in the past. I don't have a fan on. The window's open now, and it's been closed in several recent videos and streams as a result of the fires. You missed it? The Opium Wars? Okay. Anderson, 20 Brazilian. I'm from Brazil. My state was once a country in Brazil, República de Peritini, na Revolucionado, something. I can't read and pronounce all that. Thank you so very much for the donation. Just declare law on any nation without vegan laws? True. So the ideal start would be getting Beijing, kind of always. The thing is Great Britain is, I think, very unlikely to side with us. They're undecided, though. Usually their interest is going to leave. Maybe that's actually the trick. We just need to deck at the very opener, where Great Britain still has their interest there. Yeah, so this is decaying out. I don't think that this works, but let's check. We have max conscripts, so We're as spooky as we can look before Great Britain loses their interest here. So we're gonna see. I don't think it works though. So we're gonna be reloading if it doesn't work. Oh, they are swayable? Really? Ungodly easy. Okay, so this is probably just the opener, right? And then we move this to Manchuria. We take a little bit of a... Oh, they abandoned us instantly. Yeah, that's not gonna play. But we could sway them again. That's cute. And then they abandoned us instantly. Very cute. Okay, so I don't think that... I think that it's perhaps the case that we have to side with them on their war. That's kind of interesting. That's kind of obnoxious as hell, isn't it? Okay, well, we could get them... We don't have enough maneuvers to sway Russia now. Okay, let's see if we can sway Russia. Can you sway GB on or Russia for open market on yourself? No, we can't. Are there chimps in China? I don't actually know. Ivar's preaching the gospel. I don't know. If there are chimps in China. There's certainly pandas. We hate the pandas. Like, as a new player, that would just be so frustrating to me. I don't know why the UK is like that, though. Get them Chinese stonks. You can get Beijing with the right play. Done it a lot. Yeah, I haven't done it as... I haven't played Japan in a while. I know there's like... or there has been in the past a way to do it, but that is also harder now. Oh, we didn't load back far enough. And so... I guess giving Russia a treaty port is maybe going to be the way to do it. Try Russia? Yeah. Look at your map. You'll, oh, thank you for the additional 20 Brazilian. Yeah, so we'll take a look at PRTD in 1 second once we reload. I couldn't read. I don't speak Portuguese, so I couldn't read your like previous comment. No hablo portugués. I don't even know if that's I don't speak Portuguese because that's just I don't. But yeah, there we go. PRTD, same as your flag. Thank you so very much for the 20 Brazilian. The other coffee, don't forget. Here's your Amazon box. Thank you so very much for the 2x Prime. Big nice. Bad Guitarist 007, thank you. Thank you for the follow. Need to change government? It will work. Oh, change government. You're right. That makes sense. Thank you. That is, in fact, the way. That's an element of things I forget about, like, probably more often than I should. Yeah, so they're PB Intelligentsia. I'm still not sure if we want to open with this versus just RPing. But let's do this. Now... how many maneuvers we have and how much stuff can we make primary? I'm thinking we do war reparations primary, but we could do... transfer... we can't do transfer Korea in primary. We could do transfer Korea in war reps, and then they're likely to back down. And then we get a bunch of infamy kind of for nothing. We can do war reparations primary. And then take some Manchurian states. I think we get claims on them, but they're so low in infamy cost anyways, I'd honestly rather just have the gold earlier. Vegan chips in China, it's why Chinese are vegan. True. Pandas lived up their allowance. Yeah, pandas are wretched creatures. I have great contempt for pandas. Why do I have to teach the spreadsheet guy? The spreadsheet guy is about understanding the deeper systems more than like executing the perfect openers, to be fair. And so a lot of times I just like forget, because also a lot of times for a while I was trying to play optimal like every single run, and then people complained that every single run looks the same. So then I was just like, well, now I have to RP. And when you RP, you forget things. I've forgotten much of Victoria 3 system. Also, like the bankroll meta. This was the jam. You were just like doing this like all the time in the bankroll meta, and we're trying to leave the bankroll meta behind us. Yeah, I think I like war reparations, primary, and add Manchurian states as much maneuvers as we have. Is there a way to maybe get more maneuvers as the opener here? I feel like there probably should be a good way for us to get more maneuvers in the opening. No, there shouldn't be. What am I saying? We can't change our ruler very easily. Wow, we start off with someone with expensive taste? Who the hell done it? Okay, well, with this setup, we actually won't need this, because we'll just let Great Britain do all the work. I was looking at other openers that didn't involve, like, that type of play. I guess we primary war reparations now. To be fair, we could lib and primary liberating Korea, which would make Korea very easy for us to take later on. Or we can go for a bunch of stuff that is not incorporated. Specifically, North Heilongjiang and North Jilin. This still looks like a decent chunk of infamy. This is also unincorporated, so taking Inner Mongolia is not terrible. We're already over the infamy threshold. We have to make sure we don't get below -20 relations with GB. Otherwise they might leave us. So we can't acquire more than 10 infamy. If we can't acquire more than 10 infamy, then that means we could take North Shilin and we could take these and still not piss off GB. When this spreadsheet game with bullshit random numbers doesn't have ideal perfect opener. I mean, maybe not conquer Beijing immediately, but transfer Korea or Manchuria makes sense. Maybe. The problem is your primary war goal has to be in a place where GB has an interest. If you're going to pull GB, and if we transfer Korea, that's in a different strategic region. I also do think that just we probably just want to actually get the Forbidden City. You won't back down if you primary war reps. I think I don't necessarily want to super kick the relations at the nuts, though. You don't want to border with Russia? You need to beat recognition at them? This is true. Why don't we try... I'm trying to think through what's optimal here now. I guess we could try liberate and taking Jilin. And we could pay 2 infamy to primary this. Otherwise we get a refund, but if we get all this immediately, it's not that bad. We could also save here. And if they back down, primary it. I think I like this. Have you turned the difficulty up? No, I haven't. Because people just play on the vanilla settings. And so, like, it's like one of the reasons I don't want to play with mods is because people are using my runs to inform their runs. And so, if I play on higher difficulty, then that changes the texture of things quite a bit. So we'll see if they back down here. Now, I don't think we need to do anything. I think we could just let our friend and ally do stuff. We are going to need another shipyard to not run a shortage. Except for the real play is actually we just shouldn't be using the convoy. Yeah, we should just be on anchorage. Why are we going down? And oh, that's illegitimate. We don't need this anymore. Okay. Do you speedrun Vicky 3? No. The more interesting speedrun, I think, is the one where you speedrun game year, and I'm generally not super interested in hyper-optimizing stuff. I'd rather theoretically understand it and not spend, like, 10 hours trying to get something absolutely perfect. Like, forming Germany or something? Yeah. No, that's like, not in the... You could do it in, like, I think under 3 years. I don't think that that's even optimal, under 3 years, for, like, forming Germany as fast as possible might not be optimal from, like, for, maximizing GDP perspective anyway, but... Home Army, 24 troops could land them. They want National Guard? Yeah, sure. We could probably do National Guard. Oh, we shouldn't have done that. Institutions would be so expensive for us. I guess we could do the cheese, but I don't... yeah, we're not going to do the cheese. Now, this is the state religion pass chance that I cut a lot. Why are they not going in? Call an ambulance, not for me. Not enough org. I feel like they're using way less troops than they do normally. Take the loyalists here. It's still good enough because absolutely like zero defense here. So, man, this opener's so busted. Should we do this or should we RP open? I mean, let's see what people think, maybe. Not that this is, binding. This is, like, clearly so much better, but we don't necessarily need to have, like, a god run. November 1839 is theoretical fastest Germany form. There we go. You're only, like, a month off of that, right, Connor? You're gonna do an RP run, or any country? Why tackle it as a what-if? People love those. I mean, we're making Japan Jewish, so that's already a what-if, but I'm not trying to make a larger kind of argument as to how Japan would be if they were Jewish. What are the odds you could bribe me in playing Ethiopia in Civ 6 prior to Civ 7 release? High, I would say. I would be amenable to playing Ethiopia if we play Civ 6 again. So I guess it's more the odds of that we play Civ 6 again. It's kind of... Although, I don't want to guarantee anything transactional in nature. I've never played Ethiopia in Civ 6, and playing Ethiopia is a pure suffering in Civ 6. Ooh, look at that, tactful. Big nice. Not that, I don't know why we're mobilizing. This is just stupid. GB can 100% handle this war all by themselves. We're just like, it's like Dad is going in, you know, to chop the firewood, and we're here with our fake plastic axe being like, I'm helping. Look, Dad. Do you treat Victoria 3 like a 80-year game or a 100-year game? 80-year game. I shouldn't even treat it like an 80-year game. If you're like making content for Vic 3, it's really stupid to do longer campaigns. People just like overwhelmingly you get more views for like the starting video. Like all the other creators making like 20 to 30-year like stuff. It's like it's more intelligent to do it like that. I should just view it as a 30-year game. Can't seem to get the chat to load up on YouTube, so on Twitch. You're a Scorpion Elder there? Twitch is where it's at. We're doing a Japan start. We're doing a practice for it. I think this is kind of it in terms of if we wanted to do something fairly optimal. Other than letting our construction queue idle. Can't do that. Yikes. But let's do this. Yeah. This makes it so at least, I guess, like, to some extent we can prevent fronts from spaghettiing by having a guy here, but yeah. Ethiopia with soothsayers and apocalypse mode in Civ 6 could easily do one city strat. I don't know if we're going to try and execute anything too crazy, more than just, like, try and have, like, a fun run in the game. Yeah. They're actually good in Civ 6, crazy. They go crazy with Faith. That'd be interesting, maybe, because we don't normally play into Faith. Glarum, thank you for the follow. Big nice. Is there a reason to us but not building anything? No. The reason is we're just kind of, like, proof of concepting something. Would not mind a pro-country lobby with Russia. Oh, actually we would, because we have to fight them for recognition. Or we can fight the Ottomans. We just fight the Ottomans. We also are going to have, if we're playing Jewish Japan, we're going to have 20% higher literacy equilibrium. We have to keep that in mind, which makes, you know, it easier to get stuff. But, like, bruh. This seems, like, just so strong as a start. We could also go tenant immediately. Someone was posting a way for us to go laissez-faire super early. Off the back of passing it, but now the thing is, or actually, we have to get the shogunate, we have to get the peasants in, right? The Hyman. Does that help? It does. I don't think the Intelligentsia are easy to get in, but this guy's an authoritarian, so maybe. I think we'd rather be above 50 legitimacy. And then now we can go tenant farming. Something like this. I suppose we could have opened with bolstering here. You know, it's perhaps more interesting to go homesteading. I don't think homesteading's better, but maybe it actually fits more with some of the plans we want to execute. The thing is we need to have a ruler, a leader of the IG. Here that likes state religion initially. Or do they? Which I don't think they... Like, we need a traditionalist, not an authoritarian. Which, let's check our leaders, see what we have. But right now I'm thinking we could bolster the peasant movement, go homesteading. But specifically, we would want a leader of the IG. That's traditionalist for these guys, but they have to be already present. I feel like on some of our practice runs we have had an authoritarian there, though, so I'm a little bit confused. They get something like 20% of their faith is culture and science. That is pretty nice. How do Paradox make Vicky 3 more entertaining in the mid game? Well, the problem is like people won't want to watch a second episode vid without having watched the first episode. is like the problem, more so than necessarily the mid game not being entertaining. Like, it's just the nature of you want to watch episode 1, and so the later episodes just generally don't do that well. Is it to conquer the Levant? No, we are not touching the Levant. We are doing Jewish Japan instead of Jewish Israel because we do not want to play in the Levant. Connor 3 views Vic 3 as a 3-year game. That's probably better for content. Just have this super crazy aggressive opening that is just hyper optimized, and then like you only have to like your end of things in terms of recording is like not that high. You just have to do like a lot of reloading and optimizing and this type of stuff. So like you spend a lot more time on that 3 years, but like going deep in the game to like a much later date like takes a long time. You spend a lot of time making videos that are just gonna get like 10% of the views of the starting videos is kind of like the thing. Homesteading gonna lead to a rebellion? Yeah, it wouldn't lead to a rebellion if... It would not lead to a rebellion if this guy was a traditionalist instead. I don't think. These guys are already have the like -10 or whatever from this. Or -8. And so you could consider them, they would be +8 higher. So they would be above the -18 threshold. Because the UI counts it twice. So they'd be above the -18 threshold. Or the -10 required to kick him out of government. And they also wouldn't be getting the doubled pissed version. Like, if this man led the shogunate. But I'm trying to think of from a game mechanics perspective, I think I prefer tenant farmers, but homesteading maybe fits more with the theme of Jewish Japan, like as a run, because as a run, we're leaning into stuff like national supremacy and state religion, and these are going to give us, like, for all of our home pops, we are going to have really, really high wages, which is something that's really neat. And if you want to have all your guys have high wages, then homesteading is going to be better. But secondarily, I think we're going to intentionally bankrupt repeatedly. And so if we have worker-owned agricultural levels, is bankrupting repeatedly better? Or is this better with that strategy? And the worker-owned levels, pay them out. And I think we're also going to lean into foreign investment, and this is another reason. I think the AI actually doesn't properly evaluate worker-owned levels when you're getting foreign investment. With our bankruptcy strategy, getting foreign investment is better. If the AI doesn't evaluate worker ownership, which I don't think they do, then homesteading is insane if you're... or you just like have to go homesteading. You're going to do that. But there's no way for us to get a traditionalist unless I'm missing something. Could have sworn we started with one. Bro, does the Jewish Japan run somehow change the things so we just start with a traditionalist? Because when we've looked at this a couple times on Jewish Japan, it's not like that. In either case, this is the shebang. Let's see what people think on the YouTube. Looks like you guys like Beijing. So I do think that this is probably the opener. Shout out to the guy in chat who said you don't want to border with Russia. That's probably extremely true. We also get this border with Korea, which is nice, and Korea's released, so this will be easier for us to take stuff off of them. I think this is kind of... Let's bolster the movement and see what we could get, like, in terms of appearance for this type of thing. And let's maybe raise taxes. This will make some people a little bit more upset. And decrease military wages, decrease government wages. Services tax is probably going to be okay. And then I'm going to spread some of these out to make the swaps to iron much feel a lot better. We'll swap this up as soon as we get a chance, and we will set everything to privatize as well. Not that we have a lot of investment pool. I think we are going to be aggressive about expanding the rice farms as soon as we get foreign investment as well. But until then, we're going to maybe hold off on it. For a variety of reasons we're not going to go into. You'll have to watch the... Yo. Well, let's keep an eye on this. They're passive. Why are you passive? They have a preference for this category. Okay, I thought that they didn't have a preference for this category. If this is the case, then all we have to do is stop passing this, right? And then they'll get big madge. But that means we probably want to use that movement to try and pass tenant farmers if that's what we're going to be doing. But here, their activism should go up. Should go up quite quickly. They're pissed because we didn't pass the law that they wanted. Their support is quite significant. I said their support is quite significant. We really going to stop at 25 here? Come on, man. But we'll see if we can do it without a rebellion. Just wanted to learn Circassia because of the 5% global throughput bonus. Yeah, so this is why we're taking a look at it. I don't know how easy it is to open on Circassia, though. It's not something we've really taken a look at. But here we have a pretty strong enactment chance. The thing is, the shogun is a little angry, and we really want to include them in government. Is it still the case that people can't ditch out of government if you have... So it used to be the case that people could not ditch out of government if you had only one party in government. Do you put a link to episode 1 in the descriptions? No, but I probably should. Some of my vids go to 1910, it really depends. The majority of them are openers, though. But yeah, the World Conquest was, like, pre-1900. I'm trying to remember. But I think that... Well, to be fair, this is a hell of a lot of stall chance, though. We don't have a good way to increase approval. To be fair, we could also cheese it by reintroducing guys into the thing as we're about to pass. Like this. But for not those guys. Do these guys support? No, I don't even think they do. We progress to consideration. Why is the stall chance lowered? Oh, just because of the extra enactment chance? Oh, fair. But it looks like homesteading is pretty passable here. We are going to make all of our people very rich. Alright, let's do this. Just try and keep things going here while we try and pass the law and just see how this works out. Stock exchange, of course, is great. But this should be actually not even that hard to pass. I'm surprised there isn't a revolutionary movement here. I guess we actually want to do this to be over the 50 threshold, right? So we can pass faster. Jewish gets the mortality bonus. Close the poll. That's true. Oh no. What's happening here? Oh no. What will we do? poggers. Of course, now we could trade. We probably could get... We could definitely proc corn laws right here. I almost said porn laws. Let's import this from the British. From Russia. At least on a temporary basis. So we could start moving into this. And then... now, I think I don't mind as much... just trying to do some of this. And this will depeasant very quickly. Oh my god. I'm bad. Should have done that forever ago. In that case, then let's get off of this. I think we really don't want is like a separatist movement. I think we're still improving relations with the UK. Yeah, we are. The opening of Japan. Yay! Not as yay. Happy Sunday. Hey, Ultra Read. Happy Sunday. You only have 2 interests, but you have 3. You need to have a Hong Kong to join the war, 1 for Beijing to ask for it, 1 for Manchuria, the place you took. Yes, so what we did is we declared, while the UK still had an interest in North China, and then we actually did have an interest down here at the time, and then after we got UK in, we moved our interest over to Manchuria. We still might be able to do that with 2 interests, I'm not 100% sure. Is that really... that's not really that much gov expenses, to be honest. Maybe we're supposed to eat the minus approval on the hymen. Probably supposed to do that. Here. And then if we're Jewish Japan, we should be at like 80% literacy at this point, which is kind of funny. Don't know if we can incorporate Beijing yet. I guess we don't have like any... yeah, I guess maybe we can. It's gonna be super expensive on paper though, to like move up the thing. We'll ignore it. We could also, in theory, save scum homesteading, so this is maybe not the biggest deal. If you're playing Ethiopia, you should definitely have secret societies on. We haven't played secret societies before. I usually play with major powers or above. Playing Circassia is really a different game. Are you a podcast or music kind of guy? Music. Lower taxes? Oh no, open your market. This is insanely early investment rights. That's so lucky. Yeah. But we're not Jewish, so it doesn't count. It is early. It would have actually been nice to get it immediately after homesteading. It'd be nicer to get it slightly later, but... overall it's... we have our things toggled towards privatization, right? Yeah. This is auto-expanding. But I think we just want to do chop-chops right now. We're just going to keep them all auto-expanding. This isn't necessarily the best, but it's going to keep the queue going. While we just pass homesteading and kind of evaluate here and get ready to switch to Circassia. Streamer luck, though. Maybe click the State of Cambodia from you? State of Cambodia. What is it we're looking for here? It has iron and logging camps, 14 manor houses, 500,000 GDP, 800,000 pops. Why Why are you planning on bankrupting repeatedly? Because I want to test a strategy I don't think is good, but I still want to test it, which is, if you have a lot of foreign ownership on your buildings, so bankruptcy, you get a little bit of free money, and then, unfortunately, you have to repay all the owners of the buildings, with the credit line that gets wiped out, and so, in a sense, it really doesn't give you free money. But if most of the ownership is overseas, if Great Britain, for example, owns most of our buildings, then it's only them that have to get repaid back, and we don't care about them, we care about our own pops. And also, we're doing a bunch of stuff to increase wages, so the share of building value is much smaller for GB, because the bigger the wages are, the more of the stuff that's domestic, and we're leaning into that both by playing into religion and also playing into ethno-state orientation, or at least national supremacy. We'll see exactly how that shakes out. So, that lets us leverage the bankruptcy better, but then, if you bankruptcy once, you get a ton of radicals. If you bankruptcy twice, and you swap sides, you reset the effects of the bankruptcy, and you get rid of all the radicals. So, I think we'll bankruptcy at least twice, and show off that cheese, which I don't think we've showed off before, but it's one we've been aware of, like, since, like, 1.1 or something. Kick the shogunate out. We don't want the shogunate to immediately rev, which they will, because they angy. I suppose we could kick the shogunate out, but I don't know if we'd be that much more legitimate with... They'll immediately rev, because they angy. I think what we could do is we could just keep the shogunate in. Also, we made a promise to them to pass something. We could just pass National Guard. I mean, this would get us started on... I mean, maybe we just want to rev early. Alright, let's just kick the shogunate out. I mean, I think we're getting homesteading through either way here. So, even if they rev. Right, and then this starts us... then they're really, really mad. And they'll never not be mad because we failed a government decree. Surprised that a rev doesn't immediately pop. I guess this just uber juices another movement. And we get homesteading. Worker-owned agricultural levels. So, this means... Or does this affect levels or ownership in individual levels? Oh, okay, it affects levels. So this means we won't be splitting off ownership value from the UK, but this should raise SOL quite a bit here, right? Because, if I recall correctly, it does affect... this. Less peasants, more farmers. Less grain, but also more sub-output, which, you know, more fake money for our fake pops. And this actually should uber gimp the shogunate as well. Let's see what happened to their clout. Yeah, this is from us passing it. I think you guys can see that. Yeah, cool, that's what I was looking for. You have tips for Sokoto? It takes forever to catch up to France or Great Britain. How do I keep them from eating me? I would avoid... When I've done Sokoto in the past, which was a long time ago, so I don't know if it's still important, avoiding getting to the coast kind of early until you gobble up everyone internal that you want to, and then get to the coast, and then play really smart around strategic regions to avoid wars, and then to catch up, you have to spam a lot of universities. Base credit was 10 XD. Now it's a significant amount of free money. Oh, right now it's a significant amount? Yeah, for the base credit. It's like 100k, right? I mean, like, I still think the strategy is probably not good, but we were interested in it. Laws Plus modded super capitalism run when? I don't know. You never use compact view for buildings? Yeah, that's because I think it makes for a worse viewer experience. This is something I've never, like, actually pulled, but, like, we're talking about doing this. And so that's the reason I use the other UI. I think this looks nicer. But my recollection is that base credit was like 100,000. Did they change it? I'd have to look it up. I know I say what it is in my like bankruptcy video, but I think that this is kind of the start with Japan here. So let's take a look at a different start. It's 6 million credit. It's 50% of GDP instead of 5%. Oh, they 10x it. When did they 10x it? Yeah, 50% is a lot. That's a lot of free money. Did they do that when they nerfed bankruptcy? That would maybe make some sense. It's a decent chunk of free money then. Especially because the way in which you go bankrupt, you're also juicing up your GDP anyway. Alright, let's take a look at Circassia. I don't know if we're going to find the optimized start with Circassia. I just want to take a look at it because I've never tried it. Pretty sure it's a little bit rough. So, we went to... Let's take a look at our journal entries first. On or before life. So is this the one we complete to get 5% throughput for all of eternity? That's such an insane modifier. I mean, we start on the coast. I guess this is kind of straightforward, huh? So this is capital. We have some resources. Some arable land, 50. We need one construction sector to turn on the investment pool. We don't have anything we need to immediately address. But then that one construction sector is almost certainly going to be all we can afford. If we get a navy, we can start expanding immediately. So maybe it's construction sector into military shipyard. Or we're not isolationists. We don't need the mill shipyard, do we? Yeah, we're not isolationists. Just kidding. Japan build. Decrees, of course, are going to be nice for us. Namely in Circassia. Just going to put it in encourage manufacturing. It's not going to be best right now, but it will be eventually. Though, like, agrarian's going to be good. Oh, we start with homesteading. Interesting. Homesteading oligarchy? Parliamentary republic? Bro, what are these laws? It's not straightforward. 20-year truce with Russia? Yeah, don't we just, like, do stuff until Russia, like, is gonna end the truce? So you start with Japan, or you use something else first? No, we started with Japan. I mean, I assume we want to improve relations with, at the very least, Great Britain. Domineering, yikes. Where are our man-o-wars other than alphabetized, like they always are? Alright. Sure. Oh yeah, we were looking at politics, trying to think what we should pass. This is just like such a wild thing. Obviously we want to get off of trad. We're just like 100% military. Fair. Minus decree cost. We love to see it. It's actually pretty good for us right now. can't delete these, but let's do citrus orchards and harvesting tools. And see if we can collapse grain. And then... Oh, I don't know if... We're probably not powerful with the landowners. Yeah, the landowners aren't powerful. We could fix that too, though. Let's go export prioritization. On the grain. Yeah, okay, we are above. We are above, in fact, 25%. And then we can't promote that guy. Let's find ourselves a landowner general or two. Or you just find and promote the one. Oh, that's not what we wanted. A lot of bureaucracy, though. I think generally the generals will give less over to them. Feels bad, though. We're just trying to trigger corn laws real quick. There's probably too many guys to recruit, though. This is something you could, in theory, optimize, but... Also, that guy's yuck. Alright, so they're powerful. We are mercantilist. We have this. Sure. Actually, tenant farmers wouldn't be terrible, to be honest, but... And now we don't need to try and make grain expensive. Of course we have this, and we can't fire a general for 1 year. So that's a problem. That is a problem. Okay. But I'm sure there's a way that you can do that with just a couple generals rather than doing the entire thing. I never managed to crack the Circassia, and I don't think you want to finish the JE, the insane military bonuses forever. But if the throughput you get is at the end of that, then, like, it's not worth... No, I mean, we shot ourselves in the foot to trigger corn laws here. You know what? It's probably easier just to go tenant farmers, because you want tenant farmers anyways, and once you go tenant farmers, they're going to be powerful. And then you can trigger corn laws much easier. So that's probably the adjustment. I don't know if we're going to restart again in Circassia, but I'm just thinking here. So we can also declare interest and declare wars now. Or is the problem that Russia will side against us in everything? Then we just have to be a little bit more strategic. Modern conservative, there we go. Bolster the liberal movement. Although, is it currently pressuring anyone? Nope, not yet. Soon, 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 soon. And then the Mara shuffle begins. You invade South Africa and stuff to prepare. Getting UK defense pact before truce runs out is kind of important. Yeah, this seems like a little bit straightforward, right? It's just you expand intelligently. Nothing special. I mean, like, the special things would come from the JE, but yeah, getting any type of defense pact alliance or guarantee independence from GB and or Russia would be, or well, you're not getting that from Russia, but GB and or, like, France or something like that. Yeah, the hard one would be the inmate, Because you can't expand like this. This seems fine. Feels weird to want the landowners to be powerful. Yeah, it is indeed weird. I mean, this is super scuffed here because we just have way too much negative bureaucracy and we can't fire the general or the generals we recruited. Because you have to wait. Alright, well, I guess we waited a sufficient amount of time. Maybe it's not so scuffed. A year's not that long, I guess. I mean, now we're running so much debt, actually. 1K in interest. What's the expense from? I mean, I think that this is... We can definitely tune this up, but I think that this is just kind of it, right? In terms of the opener. You'll have to see it. Speaking of, it's pretty scuffed. It's a little scuffed. It's a little scuffed. Investment pool is growing. We could also, in theory, delete our construction sector, because that's most of our cost. And we could also delete some of our army, but... Get this guy over here. Yeah, but it is the OPM super poor start, but we just expand out. The strats to escape the Imrat are pretty crazy, like declaring on Herat for Hazaristan and calling it Persia to conquer Herat. People always try and play fancy with companies while they're mostly for building things quickly. Speaking of opening strats, I tried lumber, fishing, and iron companies. Strat is the USA. It depends on the country pretty much on their own. Interesting. So, like, the fish company I have mixed feelings on because it's such a good industry and it benefits so much from throughput, but it's such a low proportion of your overall, what is it, overall construction, right? I think Quasmid State actually has a military, right? Yeah, I mean, we're just headed for bankruptcy here, so this is like... scuffed, but there's definitely a way to play around this. Was it just deleting the construction sector? Yeah, I mean, now we're it's a little late to that party, eh? Alright. North Caucasian becomes primary culture. I don't know if that one makes a difference. And then this guy is almost certainly... I think the liberal movement should be... Ooh, it's not. It's not pressuring them yet. Well... I do think we ran this train a little bit too fast. But I do think that that's probably pretty straightforward. Like you just go for first the Mara like type states in Arabia, and then you go for the states in South Africa, and you just look to like eco up. And then eventually fight Russia. You win the thing, you get the journal entry. The thing is like, and then you probably have to break up. Oh, you probably have to break up... Like, if you want to do an optimized type of thing, you're definitely going after India at some point as well. Right, like, you do the cheese to break up India. It's just kind of slow. But then you start popping off. To force this to splinter into a million pieces, and then you pick them up. We weren't strong enough for that yet, but we were just going to expand into here, and then into here. And then maybe even breaking up the EIC then. What are the reasons for conquering Yemen? So Mara has 0 troops. So if you just have one boat, it's something you can always do with one boat. It's not that it's good, it's just that it's like not nothing. Why not cycle companies? Get lumber company, max all lumber camps, disband, and move on to the next resource company? Because the throughput that you get is pretty significant. But eventually you want to be staying on a company. Let's take a look at who's next in our testing. We did Circassia, EIC. Alright. We're going to take a close look. We're not necessarily going to optimize this EIC, but EIC in particular has some very, very strong bonuses. Mainly looking at this one. For a theoretical top-end GDP. Which allows you to, like, if you have this in conjunction with being companies are more oriented towards resources, and then you get 20% manufacturing industry throughput on top. This is also a strong bonus for having a lot of pops over time, so... Gaza also has 0 troops now? Yeah. I mean, when I look at them, usually they have 1, so they maybe just queue 1 up immediately, but... It is pretty easy. Wasn't the break India cheese fixed? No, you just have to do it before you unpause now. So there's kind of like a couple questions here in regards to this start, though. The things that we need to think through. God, we hate the reckless dude, though. Which is that, we could either stay a subject of Great Britain, or we could not. If we don't, we want to get freedom as quickly as possible, probably. I would think. Or maybe it's some sort of layered thing for that. And how easy is it to get independence if we want to? There is... So, in particular, one way to do this I'm trying to remember what the person on my Discord was doing. Someone was cooking in terms of there's a way to like roll or ensure that you have a negative political lobby, and having a negative political lobby is a good way of making it so that you can have good relations with your overlord and simultaneously have decaying liberty desire. Currently our liberty desire is decreasing. And you can see the clout from the interest group is helping us. Do we automatically start out with that, or is that rolled? Camera's out of focus? No, no, what a world, what a world. Yeah, let's turn this on. That usually helps. Had this problem before. Maybe my camera's just going out, man. Except it hurts our eyes if we keep this up on too high. We're gonna see if the role matters. EIC, I think it's optimal to platform PB and enact industry ban. Industry ban? I don't know about industry ban. At least the long term. What do you mean before you unpause? You can't do it day one. No, 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 not. You have to send a declaration to one of EIC's subjects. And then, without unpausing, join the same side of the war as Great Britain. This is how you do it. How to beat an army that has more battalions than yours? Playing defensively and being really cheesy with landings. Okay, so let's see what we have in terms of lobby. So this might just be guaranteed that we have to have this League of Loyalists. Well, let's try and figure out like what the short-term strategy is here. Whether or not we're getting free from Great Britain. So if we stay with Great Britain, we will pay less infamy for everything. A big problem though is we will be paying out the ass for diplo pacts because we're a chartered company. I think my eyesight is deteriorating. Same. I think you rush independence by intentionally failing the GE. That's the best way to get independent. Okay, let's see about doing that. So we just run high taxes. And we'll fail the JE really quick, right? We'll also create a lot of radicals, which isn't necessarily the thing we want, but... God, we start out with such good tech for our population level. It's insane. Let's do this. I think here also has quite a bit. We're just trying to get through things quickly and just see about stuff. But if we're getting independence by failing the JE, I actually haven't failed this JE before, so I don't know exactly what happens. We do want to spend our authority here, though. Pretty sure these are the highest pop states and ones we care about. And then road maintenance here. Although it will increase their minimum expected standard of living by doing that. I think that's still worth. And then... a lot to be done here. I guess this is probably the most important. Does that radicalize our guys, though? It's been a little hot second since we did this. A little bit. They're not quite a fan. Was there really no way to get this guy in government? Can we trigger corn laws as a subject? I mean, it's not in the... Well, we're on Mercantilism. I feel like you shouldn't be able to trigger it as a subject. They're powerful, they're in government. Let's go, the classic. Everyone loves to see it. Corn laws. Right, Bueller? No, grain prices dropped. No. You can try out countries on any mods or just base game testing? Just base game testing. You cannot escape our grasp. Corn laws? Bueller? Thing is, UK is going to import grain and drop the price. But we get corn laws, perfect. Wow, is the game already lagging? What the hell? Just from all these trade routes? I mean, it's a lot of trade routes, but like... Failing the journal entry triggers the depot mutiny, which you beat. You get swapped to a colony, which removes the restriction declaring independence and removes the minus liberty desire. Sepoy got auto corrected to depot or despot. No, yeah, that makes sense. Industry ban gets you that extra 20% contribution, and India has a ton of aristocrats. It's great for early investment. My experience has been, when evaluating this, that it's super marginal for a super low period of time, such that... I mean, it would be better, because we would stay more agrarian-oriented rather than becoming autarkic if we stayed with Great Britain, but we're gonna have to build a ton of logging camps and mines and this type of stuff. I agree that it's better early, but like the question is, how long is it better early, and is it worth our time on a law pass? It also like slows down your ability to get capitalists for a long time as well. So like you have to consider that overall thing. Are we afraid of them becoming, like, insurrectionary or something? I'm not sure. What's our institution situation? We're not giving any. Oh, I forgot qualifications are just huge pain for India. We'll do that. Perfect. You love to see it. No pressured groups yet. So we're just rushing failing this. Or are we? Native Indian groups in government, not like this. Is that the Zamindars? We could get mad at our subjects. Shake our fists at them. Make it easier to fail. I think, it's decent return to annex Hybridad through the event or whatever. Or Hybridad's the best one to annex, so if anyone's good, Hybridad's good. Wait, what is this? What's this? Nothing for us. Nothing for us but violence and war. Smell you later. Lose the front. Alright, so we are going to be at war though, so we can't use that event. Maybe we're just supposed to open with that. It makes it harder to do some of the Raj events that involve you having higher SOL, but I think we maybe don't care. Can we get a law pass in this time frame? Institutions are going to be ungodly expensive. I think in theory we're probably supposed to do the Suez cheese, right? If you're going for, if you're doing a like max GDP run, in theory you should just cheese everything as much as possible. So if we do that, then we can put in a bunch of level 1 institutions. I kind of don't want to micro that right now though. But we would just understand that that's the thing to do. Which is, you produce over 1K, you do the Suez survey, and you shift it to under 1K. Unless we're prevented from doing the survey for some reason. We don't have an interest there, but yeah. I think we're going to want more than this amount of boats. I don't know if we need quite that many though. We could definitely... Ooh, experienced offensive planner. Hell yeah, brother. We could definitely manipulate some of this stuff. Let's move our interests a little bit. Not legitimate? Sure. Is there a way for us to keep the Zamindars in government? No. And not run the level of taxes we're running, which we're running because we're trying to brick loyalty. I guess we could just pull those Zamindars out of government, though, so that we fail. This. Right? Okay, cool. At this point. So we probably should have gotten on that a little bit faster. Go to Gaza. UK is going to import grain and drop the price. Famous Irish last words. Yeah, basically. Are you going to make a new China tutorial? It depends on how... I have to check the Patreon vote, how that shook out. I don't think China won the vote. It's probably not too soon. I don't think we can afford to tell them to shove it, because we won't be legitimate enough. Oh, this is kind of a lame petition for us. Let me take that. Although, if we rev, we could just get Britain to help us. What are we doing here? Should definitely be improving relations with Russia and France. Fortunately, we really wish we had more than 2 interests, huh? Are we not allowed to do the Suez survey because we're a subject? This guy is now promotable. I said... No, no, no. Stupid discrimination. His acceptance needs to be 60. And right now it's 35, right? It's... he would just be replacing another person who's just as accepted. No! Okay, so we have this movement, but we can't promote the government. To be fair, they're agitating, so we can use them to try and pass laws, but unfortunately, the market liberal market guy doesn't care about market stuff. Or this part is erased from his usefulness insofar as he's helping the liberal movement. Is there a way that we can... So I guess we have to lead into our PB? Lean into, rather? Or go multiculturalism. Or... you know what? If this guy was... oh, this is... this guy would be a part of... he doesn't have a profession, so he doesn't benefit from our caste system. Like, giving a floor and giving a higher level of acceptance. So, like, this gives a minimum accepted for Brahmins, but, like, caste system codified, right? We would be able to get... like, if he had a profession, we would have a minimum value for some of this stuff. And we'd be able to, like... he doesn't have a profession, though. It doesn't matter. But the fact is we could get minimum acceptance on various people in our, like, country that are not culturally accepted. Rough. Feels bad, man. And these guys have homeland, base acceptance for religion, yeah. So we're expecting to see a lot of people at 45, right? Oh, so we'd have to go multiculturalism to promote. So there's like no easy way other than somehow getting the PB in government to get off of this. Actually, no, I mean, I guess we could just go agrarianism or interventionism. Agrarianism's probably okay early on. This is probably the way we do it. I'm just not sure which one we're supposed to go. Agrarianism is just better early on, but then I don't know for how long. This is a little bit of a thing. Doesn't laissez-faire trigger the Industrialists at EIC? It's just -5 approval. Yeah. You can try and exile the Industrialist leader and restart until you get a market liberal. This is true. The problem is I don't think they have a very high rate of rolling it unless they are pressured. But these guys aren't too bad. Wait, what are we looking for? See, the problem is the colonialist one, which makes them love extraction economy and hate laissez-faire. So that has to be overridden. Where's their market liberal pressure coming from? They're not here. So they just have a natural market liberal pressure? Okay. So yeah, this would be the thing. I guess. What is the theoretical max GDP, and what nation would it be best to hit with? This is kind of the question we're asking ourselves with a lot of the picks in here. I'm thinking of making a video on this, and so I'm just taking a look at some of these starts. But it's between all the countries that are in the title, except for Japan. Although Japan is interesting in that Japan does have. Yeah, I think you're probably correct that we're actually just supposed to exile this guy until we get a market liberal, and then we go laissez-faire. I guess we could save and do some of that, because if you exile on a different day, you'll get a different roll. I kind of don't want to do a 10% roll repeatedly, like in front of you guys though. You need Sinai or to be a GP to do the survey? We could take Sinai easily enough. So I guess that'd be the way. Do you work with restarting? For a theoretical like max GDP run, yeah, you would restart a lot. But I think that we could just take this guy and exile. Oh, we can't exile this guy. And he's historic. Oh, no, wait. Why can we exile him? Isn't he George? No, he's not George Eden. Didn't they used to have this guy be the George Eden? Alright, well, we'll check our generals real quick. Yeah, none of them are industrialists. So here we have an 11% roll. And we would just exile dissident repeatedly on game start until we get a market liberal. Of course, since we're so fucking handsome, we get it anyway. And so we'll do this, and now we'll just go laissez-faire. This is never not gonna happen. Alright, we gotta not idle our queue. Let's just do something that will keep our queue going, rather than necessarily as optimal. It's not terrible, though. Militants. Fair enough. I think there's no chance Circassia is best. There's no way you can get 5% higher end pop with someone else. You can't get 5% higher end pop with someone else. Yeah, I don't think it's Circassia. I just think that Circassia is worth mentioning. That's the thing, is it takes too long to scoop all the population as Circassia. But like, you can do the India thing. The thing is like, I don't even know if Circassia's bonus is worth more than this. But I think Circassia is worth mentioning, because Circassia has an access of ingress that is different than all the other countries. I think it's unlikely. Yeah, I agree. It's unlikely to be Circassia because you can't get enough pop. But the countries that look particularly good are going to be, you know, the ones that are stronger and can acquire a larger share of the world population faster. This is also one of the disadvantages of India, is like, it's a little slower starting than something like France. How is USA, France on that list and not GB? I think that you have to try and pop max, and I think you actually want Catholic. And I think what you do with France is you form Germany. And USA is actually, it should be on the list if it's not. USA because the company, but the company is bugged right now, so. USA specifically, when you get, well actually for all of these, I'm pretty sure you want to roll Heavenly Kingdom, but, which is kind of obnoxious. I think it's between France and China for highest theoretical GDP. France over GB because of the birth rate. Yeah, it's the birth rate. It is in fact the birth rate. That do be the reason. Here be dragons. But USA, yeah, so the significance of the Protestant, like, religious bonus is significantly decreased, but like what you're receiving here with the EIC is a combination of manufacturing throughput. You don't get the birth rate, but you do get minus 20% agricultural employee mortality. But I don't know how easy it is to juggle keeping these guys powerful. I don't think China, you're too far behind in tech. Yeah, so one of the problems is you have to do a world conquest, and you have to also try and make sure that you get the entire tech tree. And this is an interesting tension, and this is why I don't have China necessarily pegged on there. Although you might be able to pop Max's China best. I think taking the stuff off of China is probably better. But the question is, like, how fast can you do it? But you have to make sure that you get, like, several of the tier 5 techs, right? But I don't think you need all of them. I don't think you need flash freezing. I don't think you need oil turbine. But I think you do want dough rollers, arc welding, and you definitely need compression ignition. I'm not sure exactly what you're doing here. I think, oh wait, no, China's on it, but China's on it for a different reason, sorry. China's definitely on there, but that's because the free money modifier and stacking mill goods, minus mill goods cost. But you also need to make sure you get macro and antibiotics. But to be fair, once you have all this stuff, you don't necessarily need the tech. I suppose you also want modern financial instruments, kind of. I don't know if that's necessary. What's so special about Circassia? Circassia gets 5% throughput on everything. But like the China being behind on tech is a really significant disadvantage. That's one of the reasons Russia is like a thing. France into Germany is going to be worse than France into annex UK, I think. So I think that that might be true. So my thoughts are kind of UK, Prussia, Great Britain, and USA, you actually kind of want to leave around for as long as you can so that they can research stuff. And you maybe, in theory, even want to bankroll them throughout some of the game. And so you don't necessarily want to annex tech leaders. I don't think you necessarily want to even, like, if there were a way to, like, leave Prussia and still form Germany with France, which I think you could do by forming it into Austria. Like, you get the South German Fed, and you let Prussia stay, and you form it, and then you annex all the high-tech countries last. This might be necessary. It might be necessary, but it might not be necessary for ensuring that you get max tech. But I think that with GB, you could just also just take India off of them, rather than, like, insta-annex them. But I don't need you think you need to completely finish the tech tree? Most Miltech past tier 3 can be ignored. Yeah. Unless you're Qing, in which case you kind of actually want to get the late game Miltech. So Qing's is, like, hard to evaluate, and, like, I definitely am not interested in actually executing it, so it's tough. It's a theoretical stimulus. But also you do the market isolation cheese at the very end too. And so the goal is to hit 40 billion GDP and turn it into 100 billion. And so a big part of it is just maximizing pop growth. Is insta-annex UK better than form Germany? It's cleaner on the wars to form Germany, probably, but you also, or well, ensure that Prussia forms German or North German Fed. You want Prussia to form North German Fed? Yeah, that's what I was just thinking. I think you could get enough tech anyways if you ignore Miltech. Probably, I'm not sure though. I think you could also just maybe keep around one or two of these, like, tech leaders, game start tech leaders. Keeping around USA is a little bit annoying, though, because they're going to pull migrants. You can release single-state subjects for research? I don't know. They won't build universities and research stuff, like, that well, but you, like, in terms of being able to push stuff. Lara's eye stance, if you're still here, thank you for the 5 months prime. I've tried to fix that multiple times, I really gotta fix it. G. Jeke 97, thank you for the follow, big dice. Talking about the theory now, I've, like, forgotten what we're, like, focused on. God, the like, GB, like, defending these guys is so silly, because they, like, never actually defend them. Or actually, are they ineligible to defend? Do they have a defense pact, but they just didn't? Oh, they do. They're just not allowed to because they're subject. That's cute. Alright. We're still ticking down. There's probably a faster way to do this, but the EIC is a little bit attractive, though. I know there's a guy on the what is it, the Discord that thinks it's EIC. And not, one of those. But that, like, one of the options is one of the strong Europeans having Catholic, and, doing it that way. I mean, to be fair, at a certain point, it's just like Turtle Island, too. So, like, you could insta-annex GB and then, like, also form Germany, I suppose. I think you lose all your subjects then, so that's probably not worth. Because you can leave around the GPs for a while. France can easily and infamy-free form EU with Confederation of the Rhine mechanics in like 30 years, and Austria maintains GP spend infamy on Asia. Yeah, but like if we're talking about a theoretical like max run, you go. I have to imagine you go high infamy really early. Because you want to be applying as quickly as possible all the pop growth mechanics you can to Chinese and India states. I have a tough time finishing a tech tree when I do a world conquest. Yeah, but you have to get the production techs. Releasing single state subjects is probably better than starting GB around. Even if they don't push research, they'll still spend something that could spread to you. The EIC is better than China. EIC is really attractive. I think it's unlikely to be like one of the European options with where you go Catholic and you're just like playing off of the strength, but like you can make an argument even like GB Because GB can, like, annex EIC relatively early, right? I don't know. Like, once you don't care about infamy, GB is, like, it's probably not GB, but... Yeah, we could take a look. I think that we kind of have this maybe kind of a little bit understood here, though, in terms of how we would kick this off. You get a really early laissez-faire, you get independence, and you... I don't know where you start spending your infamy first, or if you go high infamy right away. I guess is maybe the question as EIC. So if you go high infamy right away, you're trying to maximize the amount of population. Well, actually, no. I think you're trying to figure out how to get construction, because right now your pop growth's not even that good. The thing is like, you have to lean into the Zamindars probably the entire game for this minus agriculture employee mortality. And to be fair, this is really strong for you, like, early on, because... Actually, does this include plantations, or is this just farms? See, like, what it's the nomenclature around what agricultural means is inconsistent in the game. So here, agriculture refers to farms and or livestock, if I recall correctly. But here, agriculture includes all the plantations, but it doesn't include plantations in throughput. So, like, here, if you take a look, you'll be getting 25%, not the 15% off of the... Oh, wait. Why are we getting 25%? Okay, yeah. We would actually just need to find one that has a separate bonus. But if that refers to only people in farms, then it's significantly worse than if it refers to people in farms and plantations, right? But, like, in terms of from a pop maxing perspective, EIC looks attractive, and they get a huge throughput bonus. Because no matter who you start, you're going to get control over this 100 million pops slower than them starting with it. Catholic just gives so much pop growth, I think you have to be Catholic or Orthodox. It gives a ton of pop growth, but if you're not applying that pop growth, or the timeline at which you're applying the pop growth is slower, then that's not necessarily helpful. But yeah, it does give a ton. Soda is minus 20% mortality, though. I guess one of the questions you have to answer is, what proportion of the employees are receiving this mortality thing, and it's then you have to know how much proportion is plantation. Early game, should I be privatizing all your buildings? Generally speaking, unless you have an overlord. If it includes sub-farms, minus 20% agriculture mortality might swap, I think. I'm pretty sure it includes sub-farms, because farming throughput, I think, counts it. I think it's sub-farms and grain. Or I'm pretty sure it's at least sub-farms and grain. I don't know if it applies to plantations. It's an important question, though, because that's going to be, like, really important as time goes on. Is there a way to check mortality of a given guy? Right? We can just by looking at population. Okay, but the guys aren't happy right now. We don't really care about passing laissez-faire here, right? So let's try and make the Zamindars happy and see where exactly it's applying, because this is actually fundamentally what we care more about. Great, you'll love agrarianism. Just sound off. We'll give it a little on pause. Alright, so plantations. Does it apply to plantations? If it applies to plantations, it's just going to apply to everything, right? It doesn't seem to. Alright. Do we really have 0 levels of this? Alright, I guess. Alright. But I'm pretty sure, like, all bonuses you get towards this stuff will also apply here. Seems like a kind of low mortality. Yeah, it does apply to peasants. How often are you keeping the devout happy, though? Your GDP maxing, you want a lot of policies that they hate? Yeah, but you don't necessarily need to GDP max early. You, like, develop the pop base and then you push. Like, or, like, earlier on, just pop growth is more important, and then at a certain point you go, like, 200,000 construction. But you don't necessarily need to get all that in place first. But yeah. But this means that we have to keep these guys powerful and happy as the EIC. And then we're looking at... okay, the EIC, they lose the industrialist juice. But to be fair, for a theoretical max GDP, you don't necessarily like need the juice. It just helps for the ramping period. So we would want this. And then I'm pretty sure... we would want the only other one that we like would desperately want is the trade unionists. So we have to have a system that makes the trade unionists and the Zamindars happy. This is one of the problems, is that this bonus is locked behind someone that traditionally is like hard to get powerful with the trade unions. You could do it through general clout manipulation though, and I think this is what you'd have to do, and it'd just be incredibly tedious. But you'd have to do a similar thing, keeping the devout powerful, probably. But yeah, keeping the devout happy is another, like, problem as well. But I think if you go... You can go slightly worse versions of a lot of things in order to make them happy. We're gonna make sure that this also applies to rice farms for whatever reason it might not. That will mean you want to like grain max early on, because that'll both raise SOL and decrease mortality by quite a lot by your keeping the guys in the industries. Well, let's just double check. Pretty sure a lot of job satisfaction there, eh? Yeah, they are getting minus 20%. As France do the release EIC exploit, push for inviting Belgium, Netherlands, power block, resolve Schleswig for North German Fed, release Rhine, form Confederation of the Rhine, use India and China. It's cheaper to conquer broken India than to annex or transfer EIC. It is cheaper on the infamy. It's also probably a little bit faster. But if you're GB, you could just release them yourselves, and then they also collapse. I don't think you have truces with the subjects, just Bengal, if I recall correctly. GDP maxing would be keeping everyone a peasant for minus 24% mortality and be like, yeah. And that actually might even be the... Well, the problem is you have to do other stuff, but like, yeah, you might just actually want to intentionally not de-peasant. I'm actually curious about the truce. Okay, I think that we kind of like have a rough idea of these guys. So let's just like... exit to main menu here. They're definitely really weird from the mortality thing, though. Wait, you took Tibet? No. GB decided to take Tibet. But I am curious about GB, if they release India, what happens? Because it's possible GB, you're supposed to just... you could play GB and then release India and then conquer the princely states. Which is like a wild type of start. I mean, GB, you have a ton of, like, resources. I mean, GB, if you do France Annex GB, though, you get those, but then you're high infamy. And one of the problems with high infamy is when you conquer stuff, you have more radicals, and you'll have higher turmoil everywhere. And so you either have to turmoil reset, or you're going to have turmoil negatively affecting some stuff. I guess maybe it doesn't matter. Let's just grant these guys independence. We're just looking to have these guys implode. Watch the... Okay. The AI, like, generally doesn't like choosing the option that doesn't implode, but... I mean, we could deck on them right away. Okay. Now, the thing with the USA is, like, the USA wouldn't work right now, because my understanding is the company's bugged. But the USA is, like, semi on the list, because I think that one of these companies is really good. Japan actually also has really good unique companies. But United Fruit Company, plantation throughput, I think is insane. The problem is I don't know if you can actually maintain the prosperity bonus with sugar and fruit. Which makes USA a little bit less attractive. USA having a bunch of arable land is really nice, because this means you can siphon off pops. And if you siphon off pops, this means you can apply all your mortality and birth rate positive modifiers. But anyone who takes the USA's land can do the same thing. Who's next on our thing? Do we have USA out in here? Yeah, I see USA. Okay, so we're looking at USA now, I guess. But, like, also when you implode EIC, right? These guys, you know, primary culture, Mathi, or Marathi, and they have migration controls. So they're all allowed to leave now. So, like, if you get this roll and Heavenly Kingdom and try and siphon off pops as quickly as possible, the USA has some advantages in that regard. The problem is that I think for the GDP max, you want Catholic over Protestant. I think the company throughput's really not worth a whole lot here. And the USA doesn't have something that, like, kind of recovers that, or makes up for it. In terms of their IGs, unless I'm just overlooking something. But if you have more growth rate and you can't apply it to as many pops, then it's not as useful. Like, if USA, if you can get good growth rate modifiers and get pops faster than a Catholic country can, then the USA becomes more attractive. I think Ethiopia could also be good. Big true. It's better to grant state and annex as GB. It is. In terms of infamy, but in terms of maximizing years by which you're applying good modifiers to the largest swath of pops. Another advantage for GB, if we want to think about GB, is they generate mandate very quickly. But my understanding of the the day one annex all of GB that you can do as France is that you would have all their subjects too, so you would be getting this developed quickly. The thing is, you have to go with the military. Well, you have to open with the military block and then transition back to Sovereign Empire. I'm not sure what block you want at the very end of the game. It's probably... Well, it could be... It's either Sovereign Empire or a shift from Sovereign Empire to another one. It's probably a shift from Sovereign Empire to another one. You might even want to change as many to three to four times what your block is. 20% plantation throughput doesn't seem that insane compared to 20% manufacturing on India. It is easier to get manufacturing throughput than it is to get plantation throughput. Plantation throughput, if I recall correctly, applies to rubber, which is pretty significant. But I'm not 100% sure. Rubber is a weird resource. Like, modifiers don't necessarily always stack on it correctly. And rubber is something that throttles endgame GDP. One of the advantages of whatever start you do, or actually, one of the reasons. Okay, this is another thing. One of the reasons why I liked France into Germany was because you gain access to, I think, the best companies. Because eventually you get Belgium, right? And I needed to take a look at what, like, overall BIS companies looks like. But this company is extremely strong. And if you do European Union formation, eventually you would get this. And then also the best rubber company. You don't really like mortality, though. You kind of care for a GDP maxing. But getting like 70% throughput on rubber is attractive. Maybe actually, I mean, if you have another good company that does iron, you don't actually need the iron in here. And maybe this is just an old way of thinking about it. I do think that that the tooling company of Belge is like really good, but that one's not locked behind culture. The rubber company is. So is the plantations company though. But overall, like you're gonna have like close to 100% manufacturing throughput, and like the most you'll have in plantations is like 50%. So like it's, but manufacturing occupies a much larger share of your overall economy, and I'm not sure if you. Late game, I don't think you get crimped on any agriculture. I don't think you get crimped on plantation stuff, with the exception of rubber. Have you tested Japan already? Yeah, you did. I think you're putting too much weight into IG bonuses. I might be. I might be overthinking the IG bonuses and underthinking the pop growth bonuses. Sovereign Empire would be worthless at the end. You wouldn't have any subjects. Yeah, well, but what you would maybe want to... Well, so... You would maybe want to authority max, put down a bunch of decrees, and never lift the decrees ever in order to be gaining throughput. Sovereign Empire wouldn't... In which case you could swap off of Sovereign Empire once you hit the peak, which is why I said you might have to switch 3 or 4 times. Because it might be that you go through a phase where with Sovereign Empire you max out you max out your decrees, and then you switch to trade, because I think that the best one to end on is trade, unless I'm missing something. Trade League, just because in terms of any of these that can economically help you, it's either Divine Economics, which I don't think it is, because I don't think enhanced clergy oversight is like worth it. Wages for state religion pops. So it might be that so here's the thing: is like the wages modifier. This would require like a lot of math. It may be that the buy basket profile of low SOL pops is better, such that it will stimulate more efficient industries in the aggregate, such that you want to have high wages. And if you want to have high wages, then Divine Economics might be okay. But if it's not the case, then you're going to want the throughput. The company throughput. Convoys are irrelevant. You get squeezed on rubber at the end. It's actually the first resource I run out of. Yeah, this has been my experience, but people have complained about other resources, but I think you go military treaty before you kick off the world conquest and then just stick on that. I mean, it's possible you don't want to swap around. I do think having a bunch of decrees is really attractive, though. Why Congo company best? Because the iron? Yeah, the iron is good. The prestige is also not terrible for some, like, points in the world conquest thing. You're eating -10 on all IGs that aren't Gov. If you do that, you'd never be able to swap IGs again. That's true. I wonder what's the max number of subjects you can release that have less than 200, like 100,000 pop. No, you're right, though. I mean, if you can get a good single-party state that has all the IGs you care about, it's not a problem. Also, like, I don't think it's a problem if you don't world conquest and you leave like Mara on the map, right? So having Mara as a subject just to boost authority would make sense. And to some extent, I think this actually works with all the Ethiopian countries, probably. If you're trying to GDP max, like the 25 authority is probably worth more than having that under your control. State religion, religious schools, France with divine economics, maybe. The thing is also throughout many phases of the game, or most of the game, unless you stack basically all the modifiers, it's going to be better for you to be approaching 20 SOL rather than 10 as it relates to pop growth. And even then, depending on how your economy is stratified, it still might be better to be closer to 20. Because I think that, like, being way under or way over, like, 10 is more disadvantageous when 10 is the equilibrium than when 20 is the equilibrium. So... But I mean the USA starts like fairly straightforward though. You subjugate Mexico, you transfer all of it to Indian territory, and then you annex it for like 5 infamy. And then you just kind of play normal-ish, but you have to get Heavenly Kingdom to force, and you have to break this up and go after it and try and max migration. And then this is maybe the first 20 years, and then you probably have to turn and burn after 20 years and go high infamy. And just take as many Chinese states as possible, or something like this. Love how Generalist does not enjoy Vicky 3, but is forced to play it by his community. Watching others suffer really turns me on. The truth hurts. Yeah, I feel bad for anyone who's turned on while watching me. Oof. The truth really does hurt. So, but this is but here's the thing, the plantation throughput, bro, I don't think that you can maintain this bonus. I really hate the way that company bonuses are achieved, because how the hell are you actually supposed to maintain top productivity on fruit and sugar? Sugar is the most price collapsed good, like, in Victoria 3, and fruit is probably second. So, like, then it's kind of moot. I mean, you do get better companies in, like, in oil. Like, I think Standard Oil is, like, a busy company, but you get that anyways. It's not locked behind USA. So, I don't think any of these are locked behind USA except for the United Fruit Company. Like, they're just all locked, state-locked, so... What's the other country we wanted to take a look at? You have taxes and decrees for most of the game. It's way too late to swap power blocks by the time you unlock single party state. You'd rather have have taxes and decrees for most of the game. All the radicalism means you really squeezed out on income and until conquering comes down. I think average SOL is misleading because SOL has 3 peaks for different classes. You would want your poor class to near the ideal SOL. Yeah, but even your poor class is stratified. You're right, but, like, poor class is most of what informs average. It's not that crazy. Especially if you're, like, pop maxing, you're gonna have a lot more lower class, and so, you know, we have 10 here and 11 here. It's not that far off, but yeah, you are correct. You almost certainly care more about where these guys are, but if we, like... If we look at, like, what's... laborers are lower strata. These guys are lower strata. I think farmers are lower strata. Shopkeepers... No, not shopkeepers, but clerks are lower strata, right? Playing a dangerous game here, trying to remember everything that's lower strata. Servicemen are... Can't remember if clergy are... I think these guys are... I think clergymen might be middling. But if we cruise through here, we'll see a lot of 8 and 12. And 8 and 12 might average out as 10, but if you're shooting for 10, or if your equilibrium is 10, it's better to run 9 and 13 than it is 8 and 12 for overall pop growth. If I recall the math correctly. So even though 10 is better, averaging 11 might be better, right? Because being under 10 is significantly worse, and that's why the 20 equilibrium is. So sometimes it's the 10 equilibrium, but even when it is the 10 equilibrium, going under is way more punishing than going under/over on the 20 equilibrium. When was the last time you used a physical calculator? I mean, like my phone, like probably the last couple days, but you mean a calculator? I can't remember. You can do research where you annex all console command and play a full game and check the best potential GDP. Well, I know what the best theoretical pop growth rate is, right? And then I can just multiply that by the starting pops, and this is the absolute ceiling of the most pops you could possibly get, right? But that doesn't necessarily... a big part of it is having more pops and just pop maxing. I think USA is a little bit of a strange one for it, but that it maybe does okay. Farmers are not lower. You can also see when you hover over. Okay, let's check. You're right, they're middle strated. Lower. We forgot to include peasants. I think that's it then. Oh, no, wait. Machinists. Yeah, okay, fair. But the point is like, just because the average is 10 doesn't mean that it's necessarily best, because if we sort by population, it was sorted by population. You know, all these, well, just as we're talking about, all these guys are actually 10. But, like, having this 8 and this 12 doesn't really work out. Another thing is, I'm unsure. I still need to find out. And part of this problem was I was playing on a mod. If slaves are just going to have 8 SOL, slavery is meta. And one of the things about the USA is USA starts on slavery. And it's really hard to get on slavery once you're not already on slavery. So this is another reason why the USA are potentially good. The problem is like, we've just seen wildly different outcomes in terms of SOL for slaves. But if the SOL for slaves is just like 2 under the average or 3 under the average, or if it just stays at 8, the base rate for slaves of workforce ratio is 2.5 times the normal base rate. It's, double. Right? I can't remember the equilibrium is 20% or 25%. I think it's 25%, the base rate for workforce ratio, and then for slaves it's 50%. And so the higher workforce ratio means it's effectively double the pop. And so this means that you would have to... You're going to stack workforce ratio anyways, but so it's not... The math isn't quite that you would have to achieve double the pop growth, but you'd have to achieve something like 40% more pop growth on non-slave pops to out... or not 40%, like, maybe like 60% more pop growth in order to effectively get more job workers. But also I need to know how slaves are moved around and this type of stuff, and you also have to make sure that you have enough jobs for all the slaves. Like a dedicated device? I've not used a dedicated device for that. But I don't know exactly how they decide what the slaves get paid. And I've just seen wildly different outcomes, you know, in terms of how much the slaves are getting paid. So this requires more research, but the USA is the most reasonable country that starts with slavery for GDP maxing. And so you would just, you know, and the optimal would probably be still going to multiculturalism, accepting African Americans, then swapping back to something else, and then passing slave trade. Or debt slavery, rather. Would be the optimal play with the USA. But I still have to do the math. If you stack all the workforce ratio modifiers, 15% here, 10% from 10% from a doubled trade union bonus. So it's a workforce ratio of 25% versus, 50% versus 75%. Where slaves are getting 75% workforce ratio if you have all the modifiers. But it might be hard to get approval of various interest groups on slavery. GB also has a smoothness that would be really nice, but they still don't have the Catholic bonus for maximizing pop growth. To be fair, Russia's bonus applies to the highest number of people, but I don't think Russia's the answer because they start in like a lower tech tier. USA starts in the #1 tech tier. Vicky won't let me conquer barely anything. AI is just trash, so what's the point? It's more economics focused. If you wanna map paint, I definitely wouldn't recommend Vicky. Let's take a look at the next country that we're gonna take a look at. France into Germany, and maybe we have a little bit of think if this is actually France into Germany. Because I'm actually... Initially I was thinking that, okay, we want the Belgium company, but it's not even necessarily that important. So maybe it's France into annex the UK into infamy reset. So that your conquest... I mean, if you're going high infamy, it's probably the case that you want an infamy reset to, like, reduce the radicals gained in spots. It's like, also, when do you want to subjugate? And you can either conquer Chinese states, or you could try and hit a break point where you, like, get to annex them in one go. But... Can't find anything in the wiki about slaves having higher mortality rates. They'll generally be under 10 SOL, so they'll generally have higher mortality and lower birth rate as a consequence of... higher mortality as a consequence of having low SOL. They have none of the buffs to staying alive? They don't get any of the bonuses and stuff? Wait, really? Take a look here. Let us evaluate. Okay, so this group of slaves, they're working in sub-farms, which we know receive the bonus. No, they get bonuses and penalties to birth rate and mortality apply to slaves. How do you infamy reset? Swap sides in Civil War? Yeah. That's more of like a tactical execution than necessarily like the strategic importance of picking the right country at game start. You still get the Belgium company regardless of becoming Germany? Oh yeah, that's right. Yep. I'm not sure how necessary the company is. You might be right that annexing UK is the best opener for France. For a GDP max. Depends what you're doing, but like... The thing is, then you're already in the high infamy street, but then you can just infamy reset. So it might be that into an infamy reset. I don't think you want to annex... Yeah, I actually think you would prefer Prussia become North German fed, and you don't want to annex or mess with the GPs really after that, and maybe you go low infamy for a little while. So you open with that, you infamy reset as France. That's an incredibly tedious opener, though, but, like, I mean, the theoretical best is the theoretical best. You annex... What's the best way to annex India? Is it to feed? Vassal feed? All of British East India Company? So you could... Just looking who they're adjacent to. If you transfer EIC and you already have a subject you've reduced autonomy on, let's say Sind, or not Sind, but Burma, you then transfer as many states as you can and you annex them early, and that's probably the best way to get as much pop as possible, as quickly as possible off of India, regardless of whether you're playing GB or France. It's probably France. You could make an argument in Austria. To let other people push the tech, but I don't think it's Austria. Because Austria is notably the other Catholic. I was thinking France into Switzerland, into Germany formation. But I think that overall slows you down in terms of getting the Indian pops. And then you would just, I guess, peel states off of Great Qing for a little while. You do the Suez exploit. So you can start incorporating as quickly as possible while still not needing to build that much bureaucracy. But then you have your endgame bonus is effectively your 5% birth rate as France. I did like turning into another country though as France, because I liked resetting some of their bonuses. Like, I don't like the prestige bonus. Maybe that's kind of okay, though. To be fair, prestige lets you subjugate people slightly earlier. When you're going high infamy. Offense is actually good. State penalties from turmoil is actually funnily good as well. The construction is probably worse than the investment pool contribution, but that's not a big deal. I forgot you get... I always forget they have the unique IG on this. That's like such a small one. Like, it doesn't come into play very often, but it's cute. How do you ensure the side you want to win? You make the rev real big or real small. Don't think infamy resetting is worth. It resets in... Well, so the thing is, you'd prefer not to have a bunch of radicals when you conquer places. You could let them have uprisings and then take them, and then the radicals go away. But I want to rephrase what I said about IGs earlier. I think the only positive IG bonuses that are worth considering are the PB, trade unionists, rural folk, armed forces, and industrialists. Any other IGs require too much sacrifice in terms of laws that will hamper overall GDP. I mean, it's preferable to have those guys, but I think you can keep a happy Catholic Church. I think you... Here's another problem. There's another tension in that you actually kind of want to have lower literacy in some ways, and you want to have higher literacy in others. But I think if you are on, like, religious schools, and, you know, you don't have super... Yeah, I mean, I agree with you that it's a bit of a problem. This is a practical problem too, but this, yeah, the The second you decide that devout bonuses is not achievable for a long enough duration of the run is like the second that France becomes awful. Because that is the reason to play France over like EIC, USA, or Qing. Or Circassia for that matter. Although Circassia, I think you're too slow getting the pop. Like France, you're the absolute fastest at getting the pop. But I've also not really tried to massage the Catholic Church into being happy with me over the course of an entire run, and it may be easier than you think. After you pass healthcare, you go high with me to get as many pops under pub healthcare as possible. The problem is you're only going to have public healthcare 1 for a while until you decide to start building the bureaucracy out. And you need to, because you need to be incorporating everything. And so you're going to be incorporating a ton of states that are just like 100% peasants. So if you're not doing the cheese, unless my understanding of the Suez cheese is incorrect, if you're not doing the cheese, you would be locked in a, like, public healthcare 1 because you can't increase it another level unless you find a way to temporarily float enough to do that, which I don't. And if you're on public healthcare 1, I think the fact that you have a bunch of turmoil is worse. Like, I think their birth rate actually is not necessarily going to go up until later. Because you have to incorporate stuff. Does anyone start with turmoil at game start? I can't remember what the exact malice is. I guess we could just do this. And see what the malice is. Wait. There we go. I was like, where's my turmoil bonus? Or malice? Does turmoil not affect... Oh, it's just tax waste and construction efficiency? I guess you don't care, yeah. Negative migration attraction is probably even good. I thought turmoil had some penalty to SOL. I guess then it would be a feedback loop. I mean, it probably should be a feedback loop, but okay. It's gonna be a weird high infamy because, like, normally you wouldn't necessarily just go for Chinese states, like, on cooldown, but I guess you just have to go for Chinese states on cooldown. And you do the, you know, Fujian and Jiangxi into southern Anhui into, like, I think that's the biggest or the best train you can run in terms of getting pops. I mean, to be fair, that's a lot of pops. 46 million... 50, like 60 million. I should probably be taking notes here. Yeah, 6 of the pop over just 3 states. You can only vassal feed India after they stop being a chartered company. Switzerland doesn't have German culture, so they can't form Germany. Oh, then Bavaria. One of these guys who's South and Italian. Or not Italian, sorry. Catholic. Same difference. My kingdom for a religious overview. But one of these guys, rather. You do Suez exploit. Yeah, I mean, for all these countries, I assume you do Suez exploit it. I mean, at a certain point, though, it's like... when are you just gonna form Turtle Island? Turtle Island just doesn't feel like the game anymore, but Suez exploit's kind of like a little bit close to that for me. If you don't go exploit, though, like, you're so much further behind than if you do. Because you have to incorporate everything. Or everything that's IPOP. So France into Germany into EU, meaning what exactly? So, as France, you conquer... Just like paraphrasing, you conquer Baden, you release Baden, you feed Baden all of your states, you re-annex Baden, you go up to super high infamy, you get cut down to size, and then I'm not sure exactly where the execution is because I haven't done this myself, but the idea is that you release Baden when the cut down to size play comes in, and release play as Baden. And then when you get cut down to size, all your territory that was Baden's, that you annexed off of Baden, off of France, that you have fed to them, becomes yours. So it's effectively a way that allows you to switch to Baden while still maintaining all your states. True about PubCare, you gotta level up to 4 and then incorporate. Yeah, you could do that. That would be better. You level it to 4 before doing the Suez cheese, and then you do the Suez cheese, and then you incorporate everything. I'm not sure exactly what the timeline on that looks like, but yeah, that's probably the better way to execute that. I'm still thinking, well, so one of the problems, I guess, with EIC is you're going to have a hard time doing that. But the religious bonus is also, like, a fine objection. Like, it's much better to have... It's much more preferable to have, like, this PB bonus. This PB bonus will be ungodly consistent as you, like, get to the later phases of the game for the manufacturing industry's throughput. Also, throughput bonuses for GDP maxing would be slightly preferable to, like, growth rate bonuses, because the growth rate bonuses you just aren't going to have the entire game, whereas the manufacturing bonuses or the throughput bonuses you only need at the very end. And so these types of bonuses, in terms of a bonus type, is going to be preferable, but, like, the objection that it's going to take forever to get to pub healthcare for EIC is also a serious one. I'd have to take a look at... The thing is, if you're getting this on the Zamindars for an extended period of time, it's not so much worse than public health 4, especially because when France is out conquering stuff from China and whatever, they won't be applying the institutions fully for 20 years, and you as EIC do get to apply it fully to the states you control in the EIC, and you get to incorporate the EIC stuff faster. Much faster. So, the rest of India, rather. And then be applying that minus mortality. And then you have this at the end. I mean, I think it's probably... I mean, I think this ends up being overall more of a bonus than 5% on the Circassia. So I think... Circassia is like an honorable mention, but it's probably not Circassia. I think it's probably EIC here. The thing is, your slow is so much more gimped relative to France. Like, France, you can really be a lot more explosive. You missed the stream? How was Circassia? We took a look at Circassia's start. It feels fairly straightforward, to be honest. You just, like, eco up behind... And so that's what I was looking at, like, how fast or slow I think it is. I think it's real slow is one of the big problems with Circassia. And the payoff of 5%, I think they are the right religion, but the payoff of 5% throughput, and I think they're also, or are they Muslim? They're actually probably Muslim, huh? Muslim doesn't work, yeah. In my head, they were Orthodox. That strat is awful. No way it's the theoretical max. You basically start the game 10 to 15 years late. Yeah, but you incorporate the pops too fast. What are you talking about? Or which strat are you referring to? The France to go to level 4, or EIC, or Circassia, I guess. You gotta specify. Yankees fan. We just like listed 3 strats in a row. Swapping countries with the cut down the size trick is really painful. Yeah. Or you're saying that the cut down size is not worth it? Yeah, because everything like unincorporates and then you have the tax malice, right? For 5 or 10 years. It's like 10 on 10 on the fun scale and 0 out of 10 on the meta scale. You can just fake pass something the church likes, and like charity hospitals and state religion. Yeah, but you need to keep them. You need to keep them constantly happy. You can't just like sometimes have the church happy. The France strat with the release. The thing is if you're not getting the religious bonus. So here's the thing why Catholic might. There's a break point, right? Depending on what percentage of the game you have that growth rate bonus, if that percentage is sufficiently low, then Protestant's actually better. Right? Which would maybe be an argument for GB. And a lot of this comes down to how much you can actually have it, because you can guarantee that you will get work ethic at the end of the game with 20% clout on the devout. This is something you can do. So you can get to 20% company throughput bonus consistently. 5% pop growth rate is going to just be better as a bonus if you have it over the course of the entire game. There is going to be a threshold between 0 and 100% of the game, and it's a threshold I know not what, where Protestant becomes better than Catholic. And I don't know what it is. At the time, you'd only mention one strat. You're like a year behind on chat. The truth hurts. I'm not that far behind. I see the entire chat. What about Turtle Island? In my estimation, Turtle Islands is basically you're not playing the game. I think Turtle Island's just too far removed from like reasonably playing the game. But yeah, Turtle Island is absolutely the best way to do it. You going Turtle Island's better. You get the entire country underneath you significantly faster on Turtle Island in terms of population, and can do the Suez exploit. Go level 4 on public health insurance, do the Suez exploit, and then apply it as much as possible. You don't need France and Germany, because in like 30 years you do a whole Europe, slightly slower, but no pain and easy entry into Asia. I think it's easily 50% of the game you have the bonus. So we think that 2.5% growth rate is better than 10% throughput, or sorry, 20% throughput at the very end on them. And this is also maintaining devout at 20 plus. But you're playing around it, so that's not as much a problem. You're not like... Yeah, having to keep the devout on 20 plus is also kind of painful, but we're talking about min-max, where you're going to pass every law as quickly as possible, because you'll just, you'll do the reload cheese, and you'll just hit every success. And if you don't, you'll break your government for a second, wait a couple days, and then pass it anyway. So, it's not that painful to keep them powerful. The final country is Qing. But Qing, unfortunately, requires you to get the most tech to actually be good, and is the most behind on tech. If Belgium and the Rhine are your subjects, you can create a Confederation of the Rhine, you can free annex them, which is nice. Yeah, maybe it's... We're not talking about instant annexing GB then, as the France opener. I think if you're doing Confed, unless you're infamy resetting as well. Or, like, the fact that it's free is irrelevant to you. But at the same time, like, you really want to, like, every single conquest you want to do, you just want it to be the highest population state possible. China would be really slow to get on public health insurance as well, though. How much longer would it take China to get on public health insurance than France to like conquer and incorporate all of China's stuff? Or which one's faster? Actually, even might be the question. But with China, the big bonus here is the free stimmy minus 30% mill goods cost, which you can stack up to minus 85% mill goods cost. But theoretically, if you're GDP maxing in this way, it allows you to really, really pound sulfur buy orders into the ground, but it also requires that you like get battleship, I think, is the best stimulation. With and you have to get and one problem is that radios eats rubber and isn't particularly efficient. It might not even be battleships, but in terms of just stimmy, like which one like kind of like looks the most efficient, it's if I recall correctly, torpedo boats, because they don't use like shit inputs. They use explosives and ironclads, which are generally kind of good inputs, but it's not a lot of input per worker. Also, it's 10% company throughput, not 20. Oh, I just doubled it in my head because I was assuming these guys weren't powerful. The main point's still there though. There's like 10% company throughput is going to be better at a certain threshold. How are you keeping the devout happy and powerful without discriminating against everyone? Minus mill goods cost is irrelevant? I don't think so. The thing is, it's only relevant for the last 5 years. And to some extent, I don't know exactly what that last 5 years looks like, because we're talking about a situation where you have like 200,000 construction. And is not like a type of thing that I've managed before. In either way, what you're doing eventually is isolating the market, but you're trying to hit 40 billion GDP before the last month, and the last month you isolate the market and kick it up to 20 billion or 100 billion. Get off the mill goods reduction train? Never. You're already resource starved in the endgame. You don't need more sulfur buy orders. I mean, the buy orders are just straight up GDP. Like you're getting to buy you're getting the military goods contribution to your GDP without having to pay for it. The military goods are just GDP that you produce. If you are counting market isolation, maybe it's useful, but since you are, it's just irrelevant. I don't think so. It's just not relevant until the last 5 to 10 years. Like, every one of these buildings you can build without collapsing your entire economy while doing it. Oh, no, you're right. Well, the ramp in, you can overbuild any building because you're going to shoot up the prices of everything anyways. Yeah. So the buildings you would actually want to overbuild would be engines and steel. When you isolate the market, engines and steel will give the most contribution. Unless you think that the minus mill goods cost is going to let you build another 100,000 construction or something, and this is going to be the significant difference. Because you're Yeah, so this is the thing, though. Yeah, you will want to have as much construction as possible when you isolate, because the isolation doesn't care. You'll actually maybe even want to subsidize. God, that hurts. The isolation doesn't care how many buy orders you have. It doesn't care about stimmy. It just cares about number of buildings and number of pops. And how net efficient the building is. And the buildings with the highest net efficiency are like the 800 cost buildings. So the question is does it allow you to recomp your economy more towards 800 cost buildings? I mean, ironclads and military shipyards are 800 costers. Does it, in the lead-in, let you recomp better? Time to pull out the France World Conquest save game and max GDP. That'd be so incredibly tedious and painful to actually do it rather than just theorize about it. You're talking about, like, if you want to squeeze everything, you need to, like, every week, like, pause and look at your trade routes and, like, check PMs and make sure you're not running transportation shortages everywhere, and do it with electricity once you get it, and, like, do a whole bunch of stuff. It's also maybe the case that you want to wait, like, a year or two before going after GB for, like, a variety of reasons. Since you're already isolating all the goods, the max price is counted. Yeah. You're like saying that as I was like thinking through it. What's the Suez cheese? Very briefly, if you're running the survey and you go over, if you go over 1,000 bureaucracy and start the survey, and then dip under 1,000 bureaucracy production, it overflows and you don't suffer any penalty from having a bureaucracy deficit. So it allows you to incorporate all states everywhere without having to pay bureaucracy, basically. Hello, journalists. How to know if your GDP is good? If the line looks nice. If it feels good in your heart. You may want trade company block just for the 10% company throughput. Yeah, I mean, when you cross the finish line, you either want that or you want... Well, actually, it's a little bit complicated, but the trade league, you're forced onto internal trade, 10% company throughput. This is probably best. Sovereign empire, it's possible that you could release a sufficient number of really small subjects that basically have no pops, that the authority that you get is more worth it, or juggle authority in a particular way. So sovereign empire could be it. And then religious convocation could be it, depending on the buy basket of your pops. But this is probably... I guess you need to bifurcate the entire strategy, actually, between are you going to market isolate or are you not? Because I think, actually, it just changes. Like, Qing, if you market isolate, their biggest advantage is significantly disrupted. To be fair, Qing has a couple advantages, so... in that it has the most pops at game start, and it's not close, and so... anything you do to increase pop growth is going to be good, and you are going to, like, rush the shit out of getting, the food company going. So you're going to have the pops under food standardization really, really fast. But also, you get sericulture. But I think that's kind of it, right? I don't think they have anything else special going on besides this. How to get recognition? War with auto? Yeah. There's a reason they call it a tools assisted run. Ew. This conversation, we also have to completely ignore that it is theoretically possible to world conquest faster by being a subject and calling your overlord to wars to reset the cooldown. When your overlord hates you, though, because you've accrued an enormous amount of infamy, do they still come into all your wars? I mean, like, this is part of what I was thinking through of a reason to stay on EIC, but... I guess we haven't checked that. But will they want to do it once you're high infamy? So British have responded to the opium ban, but they angry. And then we could just... This obviously, the subject thing obviously just helps EIC out tremendously. Oh, we still have to wait for our interest, huh? We're just not going to do anything here. Alright, we know that they maintain their interest down here, and we can sway in GB. But the question is, can we sway them? Well, this is a poor example because they're really happy with the war goal. But let's assume we can't take the treaty port, right? Let's just assume we can't take the treaty port. Oh wait, we have to put him in now, right? I forgot we have to sway them early. So let's try and do it with... Oh, we can't sway them yet? What takes the least amount of maneuvers? Alright, let's do obligation. Not necessarily what we would want. And then we can put in a bunch of war goals. And will they still join us? Beijing. Shaanxi. We have to get over southern Anhui. Oh, we got something that was isolated. Yikes, the truth hurts. Alright, and then I guess war reparations. Yeah, it looks like they will join. So we're gonna sway and oh wait, so now we can declare another war, right? Burma. Which this is the idea. And we'll go for a full annex. Bro, they don't give a shit about our infamy? That's so stupid that they don't care. Alright, we're just gonna transfer one of these guys. It doesn't really matter too much to us. But we're just making sure that we get, like, what we want here. Oh, we can't get everything. Whatever. Oh, maybe this is actually just the video to make. This is so silly. And then now they're in charge of the play. I want to see if they care if we're over 100. They don't care if we're over 100. They just are always protective. He doesn't read our comments. True. True. Mainly just trying to see. I don't know how it's possible to get them to join. You just you need to not start as a subject for it though, so you can ally them 10 years later. Much easier to get them in your wars. I mean, it seems like they just are willing to just join every war. I hope I haven't offended my man Generalist in any way. No, we were just like staring at our thing. What were you saying? I didn't see anything that'd be offensive. I don't know. Holy my, I take it back, EIC's best. They expelled your diplomats? Oh wait, did they? I mean, it looks like they're still willing to side for like we could just transfer them subjects like forever. I mean, there's definitely much more efficient targets is the thing, right? And then now they're in charge of the thing, but now we can start another play. Right? Not that we're doing this very efficiently, but we could also calm down at any point in time. This is all kind of stupid and moot-ish, right? So then the question is like, how do we execute as very fast as possible on EIC? I mean, I was thinking EIC is probably best anyways. You have to give up a subject to each war. Right now, if you had alliance, you wouldn't have to do that. That's true. The thing is, we get to do this right away. And it would take us a while to get liberated, get an alliance, become a subject again. And in that time, we would be busy not having Qing states incorporating, right? And even if we give away all of our subjects, all our tiniest little subjects, right? It's worth it to be able to declare more wars on Great Qing, but we're gated by 5 years anyways on Great Qing. So as impressive as this looks, this might not even necessarily be the right way of doing it. We could also just declare wars slower. The fact that GB is going to defend us when we get it cut down to size is a thing. Wait, why did our infamy go down by so much? What did I miss? Oh, they just backed down? Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. At which point we could declare another war? Not having a lot of maneuvers is a bit rough, though. Because we don't have very many maneuvers with this. Then Belgium is the guy to do it? Belgium's interesting. Belgium starts out with tier 1 tech. I don't think it's Belgium, though. To get an alliance with an overlord, though, you need to be independent when you sign it. Then you have to 10 years before getting force, before it gets force cancelled for being a subject. Yeah, I don't know how significant this is, because the problem is it's not letting us declare wars faster on China. Like, this looks really impressive, like, visually, us starting in the first, like, 4 or 5 months, like, 3 or 4 wars. But it's saving us, what, like, 80 days per war? But the throttle's not the number of wars we could declare for GDP max, is it? It's a faster world conquest, definitely, but the throttle is how much pop can we get under our control? And the thing is like, after Great Qing, it's It's marginal. Like, just Qing every 5 years. But the thing is, you probably want to infamy max on Qing and go, like, really hard. And getting a lot of states off of them. Burma back down, yeah. It's almost like military treaty PB is good for giving you more maneuvers. It's almost like, yep. Not much we can do about it here if we're starting EIC. I bought a property in India, and what they do is they give you the property, then nationalize it. Oof, the truth hurts. You hate to see it. Yeah, I'm not saying you don't do this at all, but I think that this is probably a little bit marginal. But if you're going high infamy anyways, because you're trying to take as many Chinese states, I guess I don't know exactly the tactical, like, the tactical execution here, necessarily. I think we're liking the EIC in this conversation, though, just in a general sense. Because I think it's just the consistency of knowing you can apply this at the very end, and also that the Zamodar's bonus, if you're getting this half the time, this is also really insane. The number of our pops currently in that, getting minus 20% mortality, is going to be, like... What is it? Like, 80% of our pops right now are getting minus 20% mortality. So even though we can't get healthcare faster, we instantaneously are getting 80% with minus mortality. Well, but like exploit free, who's the best for max GDP / pop? It might be Qing because of the stimmy. If you're not going to market isolate at the end. How's your day going, General? It's pretty good. But what we're talking about is mostly exploit free. Like, playing France and then swapping to Germany is not exploit free, but like... Yeah, that might not be worth. Or we think it's not worth. Yeah, I mean, there's a guy on the Discord who's been, like, pushing this for a while. Because he wants to hit 100 billion GDP. I think there's no shot you can hit 100 billion GDP without the market isolation trick, though. And the market isolation trick is some serious cheese. I think maybe 40 billion is possible, though. I think that's kind of the upper end. But it's also, like, super theoretical, because we're not running, like, max GDP runs, just generally speaking. Is there another country I wanted to take a look at in terms of start? France, EIC, USA, Circassia. So maybe we just come back for a moment and think through our EIC start, if it's EIC. God, it's so painful that... The thing is, EIC is going to be slow to get food standardization. You know what I think it is? I think it might be EIC re-rolling GB picking food standardization as their third principle. That's a hell of a re-roll, but... As GB or France, you make sure EIC aristocrats are happy by pushing for laws. Meanwhile, you full annex China, so you get the EIC bonus. But you don't get it on the Chinese states. You don't get it later on when you eventually annex EIC. But that is a good point. So if you are doing France or GB open, then you'd also want to make sure that they have happy, powerful Zamdadars or whatever. I think the AI is really good at flubbing EIC though. I'm not even sure you can execute on that. So we thought that you re-roll exiling this guy and getting market liberal. You go straight for laissez-faire, open. Or do you? I mean, I don't think agrarianism's good, but the problem is it feels like you get stuck in it. But if you're trying to actually pop max, agrarianism plus homesteading is actually probably what you want. I mean, you definitely want homesteading. I'm not sure if you want to make. Oh, I don't know if you want to stay a subject of GB though. You obviously need to stay a subject if you want to do the wars dex cheese, but like I think you just deck on China yourself in the opener. Picking up Beijing, very nice, big nice. I still think it might be GB. Because the religion, the percentage of time you can be... I mean, we could maybe nail down that percentage of time. When 10% company throughput is going to become worth more than plus birth rate. My understanding is that principles aren't save scummable, so you're going to have to restart back 5 years every time it picks the wrong one. Yeah, I mean, it's still going to be the theory, right? That's being super painful is maybe a reason why you'd want to do GB yourself. If you do GB yourself, you could try and, as, you know, Demetrio suggested, you can try and, or you would just go food principle 1, just like right out the gate. There's no shot that throughput affects subsistence output, right? No, it doesn't. It's just always that, right? Yeah. Okay. Because we were thinking... I mean, in terms of decrees, I think that, boy oh boy, encourage agricultural industry on everywhere. The throughput applies to sub-farms. I think this is super good for the opener in terms of maximizing pop growth. Wow, look at the weekly balance of the subsistence farms. Holy shit. I'm not sure I've seen a weekly balance on some farms that big before. I guess maybe I'm not looking at all that much, but like that seems so high. I guess we are paying a lot in wages. Maybe it's not that high. Now, this throughput might not be insane right now, but if we are on homesteading, the throughput becomes insane for SOL. Really cranks the SOL up high, right? Maybe we should have booted in whatever mode, because we'd actually have to pass agrarianism homesteading. To try and do this in the... But if we control India, it's way easier for us to go agrarianism homesteading. I think GB is best able to get both India and China under their PB and max the food mandate. So you vassal feed all of China to India, you mean? And then you eventually annex India? India won't incorporate, but you will be getting the thing independent. And be able to do it early enough to with the Qing to outweigh the IG bonus EIC has. Can't we go for 2 runs and test it? I mean, I'm mainly interested in analyzing the theory rather than executing like a run that's gonna take 200 hours. I don't have all the achievements. I don't want to do a 200-hour run just to like test a hypothesis. I mean, I think having all this extra authority is also just super good. If you do France Conquers GB, though... I'm not sure what exactly you're losing. Because you get all the British subjects if you do it right, is my understanding. You're losing 3 years, I guess. And then you're high infamy. But you're going high infamy anyways on China because you're trying to get their states as quickly as possible, so it's kind of moot. The real rub is that you can't ensure that these guys will necessarily have powerful landed gentry, and you sure as shit can't do it while also going homesteading. If you go homesteading, you'll have a much better SOL. The better SOL will give you more pop growth until you get an absolute ton of modifiers. But then you can annex them. Looking at the math, assuming 10 SOL, 5% birth rate translate into 30 more end pops with 100% more uptime, so just multiply that by the uptime you assume. Assuming 10 SOL, 5% birth rate. You can't assume... The math you have to... if you're gonna do... I mean, I guess you could do the math like that. The thing is like, you're gonna have a stratified SOL, right? You're gonna have an SOL that even if you average 10, you're gonna have like 8s and 12s. And the increased birth rate... Is it more valuable if you're stratified? I think it's... Well, maybe it doesn't make a difference if you're stratified. Stratification affects what you want your target to be. Your target is maybe 11 or 12, but maybe that's the correct percentage either way. I'd have to take a look, but that's 100% uptime. 30% more pops. So you would need it to be active. Yeah, you wouldn't actually need it to be active all that much. You would need it to be active towards the end, when you have a higher proportion of the global pops. Unfortunately, towards the end, you also have to shift the workforce ratio too, is one of the things. I know the math changes on the value of it too, but the thing is, towards the end, you'd have to be swapping over to women's suffrage as well, because the workforce ratio becomes better. And so, because this effectively gives you more workers per worker. But you'd only need like a quarter uptime for it to be better. I think GB is better than France just on merit. I mean, you don't have to do the shenanigans for like 2 years to like do the entire thing and get it started. But you're going to go high infamy if you take 3 Chinese states and you're open. What was your GB World Conquest final GDP plops? Just multiply it by 2 and that's your result, supposedly? I think I had like 13... It was in like 80 years that I had gotten up to 13 billion. It wasn't a true world conquest either, but it was like 13 billion and I think 1. I forget the pops, actually. I don't remember the pops. You can get colonial offices very early. Well, do we think colonial offices is better than not getting another 20 million under your modifiers faster? As France, you can annex all of Europe with a click. That's still extra 10 million GDP. We'll have to crawl through to get. But Europe doesn't have that much pops. We need a spreadsheet on which is optimal to switch women's suffrage to max working pops by 1936. Not like this. I mean, it's an equilibrium, just... Oh, I don't know how slow the equilibrium replaces, though. Yeah, maybe we do need a spreadsheet. Since we're just being theoretical, though, we can just know that you have to do it at some point where you want to be legal guardianship, and then you make the swap. Like, you go into legal guardianship, and then you swap over to women's suffrage eventually. That requires you to stay low infamy? Yeah. So... Yeah, I mean, I think that I think the opener might be Fujian, GXC, and Southern and Hui, all primaried. Are you not even supposed to win the Opium Wars? That's so freaking cute if you're not supposed to win the Opium Wars. I mean, you're like 2 years faster than France into GB. Just because you don't start with the sweat. How valuable is France's territory? In this consideration, 34 million. That's quite a bit. Oh, what am I thinking? If you open France, you just deck Qing first and you do the UK stuff later. Well, then you get cut down to size. See, the GB is the most resilient to, like, cut down to size. So now we're talking about some very, very significant micro to exit the opener properly. I mean, you could probably do it, but you're going to go for Great Qing, and then you're going to want to establish a truce or humiliation with some other guys, and then you go for GB, and then you do the GB thing. God, that sounds so incredibly tedious to execute in terms of opener. We peel 3 states off of Great Qing, super high infamy. We fight Prussia and or maybe Spain to get truces, and then go for GB and get multiple wars by decking on everyone they have a defensive pact with, so we can annex them. I don't know. France's territory is okay. It's worse than GB's. Yeah. GB also already has the, like, all their stuff in, but France would get it fairly quick once they have the subjects. So... More states isn't really better, though. I mean, I think the fact that you only need a quarter uptime, I think, on the church, and your uptime towards the end date is more valuable, kind of makes this one better. Yankees. You know what I mean? I think you don't need that much uptime on it, and your early game uptime... I mean, your early game uptime compounds, but, like, it's being applied to a much smaller proportion of the global GDP or global pop, and then towards the end it'll be applied to a much larger proportion. So you actually have to, like, if you want to do the math, you have to, like, do when you're going to be getting the IG bonus. But honestly, this birth rate seems like, even if you only have it for 20 years, it's going to be difficult if you fight China first. Fighting UK probably just ends up being better. We're getting public health care, and having the states doesn't really matter. No, but you want to... You can only deck on China every 5 years, Connor. Is the problem. It's not a matter of... you're going to deck on China every 5 years. Until you have all of China, I think. Are you missing on something on France? Are you talking about release cut down? I think he's talking about something that's low infamy. It doesn't matter when you apply the modifier, it just compounds. I think it matters, unless my understanding is incorrect. Because it doesn't matter when you get it if you're applying to the same pool of it doesn't matter when you get the birth rate if you're applying to the same pool, but you are going to have a smaller share of the population of the global population. You're going to have a smaller share earlier on into the game, and later on in the game you'll have a bigger share, and the bigger proportion of you have of the pie, applying it to a bigger proportion of the pie is more valuable. If you always had 100% of the pie, it wouldn't matter when you apply it, yeah, but if you don't, then it matters more later. Like, if we started Belgium and we eventually get a world conquest, and the first 5 years we just have the Belgium pops, man, it's party out there. If we only have the Belgium pops to start with, it's like basically irrelevant, right? I think the important thing is having the full pool, which I guess, which I think GB gets before anyone else. I agree that having the full pool is really important. But why do you think that GB is going to get it faster than France going after GB? Just the, like, 3 years it takes to go after GB? I mean, GB can also go after France. France isn't... You can't abuse the fact that they're defending people, but, well, they're guaranteeing Belgium, so you can get 2 wars on France. Yeah, maybe you just go GB just because you can beat up France, but now you're talking about not getting the birth rate. I think the birth rate, like, you don't need it that... You're going to have a bigger share of the pie later on, and later on it's easier to make sure that you get the bonus and it's doubled and this type of thing. I mean, like, I think the math is really good for the birth rate relative to... I guess I have to double check the math, but I'm assuming Connor gave me, like, the right numbers. But, like, if you get 30% more with 100% uptime, and company throughput is only going to be worth, like, a 2 or 3% juice to your economy overall when you, like, factor in all the math, you really don't need this to be up very much. But then, like, if GB gets everything slightly faster and is applying your other birth rate bonuses faster, then this is, like, better. GB can go high infamy sooner and actually survive. Is the fire still threatening your area? Yeah, kind of. I mean, like, containment's at, I think, last I checked, is at, like, 18%. But when they do containment, they do contain, like, they focus on containing towards houses, the absolute first, but, like, if it got really windy all of a sudden, the problem would be that the fires could spread easily, because if you could kick embers up really far distances, then it could kind of jump and start a new fire somewhere else. So to that extent it is risky, but it's like, if it gets really windy type of risky, more so than the fire's out of control type of risky. You saw what happened when you formed Super Germany when high infamy in the 50s? I intentionally fought everyone simultaneously, which is really not, like, the way you want to do it. France would be in the same situation. You're tiptoeing through the first 30 years. You can day 1 GB. Yeah, Connor has a video of it. It's incredibly tedious, but we're talking about, like, a theoretical. But you would have to adjust Connor's, like, the way he did it to go for States off of Qing first. Otherwise, I think GB is just better if GB goes for States off of Qing first. GB doesn't have to deal with that. You could go high infamy just 1. He dealt with the early cut time by, like, decking on Prussia and then backing down or something like this for, like, paying them war reps so that there wouldn't be a front against him for a cut down to size play. Well, of course, you live in California. I do. Stay safe, man. Trying. So, like, if the idea is recreating the situation GB has, which is that no one has a land border with you. I think the AI has to cooperate, and a lot of stuff has to, like, perfectly align, but, like, we're also talking about a theoretical min-max run, so if you're theoretically min-maxing, you're going to be safe-scumming a whole bunch, you're going to be restarting a whole bunch. Yeah. He did a full world conquest, Yankees, before 1900. You're locking us out of declaring anything in Europe if you do that? Yeah, just for 5 years, though. Unless I'm missing something. So, like, and then you get all of GB's subjects. I forget how that interaction works, but you conquer GB, you get all their subjects, and you get the birth rate. So it's probably between France and EIC, then. EIC doesn't get to declare. They don't get as many maneuvers too. It's like a significant thing. So they're gonna get the Chinese stuff slower. But I think that Yankees fans right. If you start, well, he's right about feeding. If you start France and then you get EIC as a subject, you actually don't want to take the Qing stuff yourself. You want to just feed it all to EIC. So that they can get the minus peasants. They can get the minus mortality on the peasants. And to be fair, when you do this, you're still going to get the food company applying to everyone in your market, right? They're just not going to get public health insurance, but they wouldn't have been getting the public health insurance that quick anyways. And then you get up to public health insurance 4 as France, and then you annex the EIC, you incorporate all the territories. You'll have a bump where you won't be getting... Actually, do you even want to annex? So the fact that incorporation takes 20 years means that you have 20 years without this. And is minus agricultural mortality just going to be better? Because you're applying it over the course of 80 years rather than public health insurance for 60. Well, I mean, eventually you want to build in the states and use the states. I mean, you have to annex them eventually, but it could just be you annex them at the end. Oh, but then you're not getting them incorporated. You need incorporation for not having negative MAPI. Oh, but you don't care about MAPI because you're market isolating, right? Bro, maybe you're just actually supposed to feed EIC, not really do a true world conquest, and then annex the EIC at the end. No, because this is only agriculture. This is gonna eventually not be applying to a smaller and smaller proportion of the population. I don't know, this is weird. Asia is less valuable to conquer in world conquest, though. The limiting factor is wartimers, and the Europeans take the most wars. Yeah, but you're not trying to world conquest as fast as possible. You're trying to acquire pops as fast as possible. But... if you conquer all their states, then you get their subjects. So that's the gamut. That's just my game. So this would require quite a bit of math. But it's very cutesy wootsy. The question is like, so now it's like a matter of comparing France's speed, because France gets the speed. I think the fact that you can't deck very fast on Great Qing is actually really rough, because the problem is your lack of maneuvers as EIC for an extended period of time. Like, you can eventually get independence, you can eventually change your block, but you're not going to have a lot of maneuvers. France, you could just open with the military power block, and you have the maneuvers. In fact, you need to do that in order to do the GB thing anyways. And then you open Mill Treaty, right? And then you go after Qing. And then you get a truce. And then you go after GB. And then you probably go after Qing again, and then swap to Sovereign Empire. Oh, but then you're not getting the food stuff for as long. Bro, I really don't know. I got 24 billion GDP with only EIC releases. Exploit is France. That's why I'm into this. That's pretty solid. I think that's bigger than I... Nengi's fan, was that bigger than... That's not bigger than, like, when you juiced up, like, the 13 billion or whatever to 30 billion. But that's a big GDP. There's no peaceful EU, that's not a thing. He's talking about confetting into Germany or whatever. Telling you it's GB, I know it's not exciting. I'm sorry, lol. Magically protectorate the great powers of Austria and North German Fed. That's my favorite way. RIP, like, reverse sway is being really good. It's bigger than before I isolated? Okay. That's what I thought. I mean, like, it's an interesting discussion. I mean, at this point, it's maybe, like, it's too difficult to... It's too I mean, I think it's between EIC and France. I think that's kind of where we're at. I think I'm not really making progress in terms of the evaluation. I think that maybe there's a world where it's USA or Circassia, but that's probably not the world we're living in. You need to make them minors? Yeah, that's doable though. But it takes a while. And like, the entire nature of a GDP maxing run is getting the pop growth modifiers applying as quickly as possible. It's why, like, Russia is also an interesting angle. Like, I'm not saying I think it's Russia, but Russia is the European that starts with the most population and would take the longest to conquer. Like, it takes the most time to conquer all of Russia's pop relative to the other Europeans because it's so spread out. I still don't think it's Russia, but Russia's interesting. I'm trying to think if there's anything else we want to look at. Silliness. I mean, the thing about Great Qing, though, is it still starts with all of the Great Qing pops. And it's a pure pop growth question. Like, as a percentage of the world's pops, I think this is like a third. And if you go homesteading really early, that's going to be really strong for pop growth. Because it's going to, no matter who you play, it's going to take a long time before 10 is your equilibrium instead of 20. Like, 20 is going to be, 20 SOL is going to be way better for most of the game. Like, you need to, like, not have any sort of pollution or, like, have level 5 public health insurance, kind of. Russia's interesting because part of the GPU max is actually getting the pop in the right place, and by the right place I mean Siberia, because resources, that's a good point. Although if you're just subbing everything, maybe not. You can't sub for most of the run, though. You have to go laissez-faire for a big chunk until you get, like, start getting into, like, the tens of thousands of construction. Chinese will flood Siberia. The problem is you can't release the Siberia tag until Russia researches pan-nationalism, so you have to do bits or conquer directly. Chinese will flood Siberia. That's also, yeah, that's a separate consideration. That one helps, like, the USA, like, theory, is getting all the pops in place. The USA and Russia are probably a little bit better for that. You get insane RNG, it's probably possible to annex China like 10 years with a Heavenly Kingdom revolt that you protectorate and support. Yeah, you have to not only roll a Heavenly Kingdom, but a sufficiently small Heavenly Kingdom, and the Heavenly Kingdom has to be amenable to the prospect of getting annexed. Oh, I would want to see that, like, happen at least once. I don't think I've seen a Heavenly Kingdom, like, cutesy wootsy free China in the first 10 years, like... That's some tough bush. Like, that's pretty difficult. You can have all the pops in the world. The only state able to take so much pop at once. Incoming migration is still limited by Emperor. No, yeah, it is. So you would be much more aggressive about like railroads. Than you would like kind of normally. For GDP maxing, you'd put a lot more railroads down than you need on terms of the infrastructure, especially up here. And so maybe, yeah, Russia might be the hardest to occupy. There's some like tough stuff to get occupied down here, so you'd probably have to work at it. Like Antofagasta is like my least favorite state on this like metric, and they have so much sulfur, so you definitely want to max that out. But they only have 10 arable lands, so it's impossible to get pops there. Protectorate having the kingdom, what you do is declare on protectorate and then side before unpause. That is cute. I didn't realize you could do that. It makes sense though. You have to get one that's sufficiently small though. And then you subjugate them and then you inherit the war with GB, or sorry, with Qing. Do you even inherit the war, or does the war just like white peace eventually? You inherit, or you're in the war. You just have to enforce on them first, too, as well. If you're not hostile, you may side with weaker China and def make sure you just have 2 of them. They'll bankrupt soon, protectorate anyways. Well, HK is significant because they have open borders. You definitely want it to be all HK. That's super RNG. I guess theoretical best involves the IRNG. At that point, like, I don't know. Because usually the Heavenly Kingdom doesn't roll minor, right? I haven't seen Heavenly Kingdom in a hot minute, so maybe I'm just incorrect. And it rolls minor. And that's something you can do somewhat consistently. They tend to start major though. It's rare to see a minor start for HK. Yeah, that was kind of my intuition. If you're peeling states off of Qing, though, they're more likely to be minor. If you peel all this off of Qing, like in the first war, Fujian, Jiangxi, and Southern Anhui, usually they roll mostly in the south, and you just took the 3 biggest pop places in the south. You could take Hainan as well, and so then they're much more likely to roll minor. So maybe it's not that uncommon. It's a shame there's not a decent way to like exploit the sericulture tech, but you need to be careful what you peel off. You need to leave enough for HK to still trigger. Yeah, that's like starting to get into like the nitty-gritty of stuff too. I don't know. Populating states is like going to be... I'm gonna write that down because I do think that's gonna be an easy one to forget, or an easy like point. To that end, like USA, like I still think is like potentially the one. I just think it's really unlikely. But we think Circassia is out. Why don't we end this off, why don't we see what people think? The people who've been here a while. We'll make it between the ones I think that are most likely. Because you guys have been in here. I guess we'll put Yankees fan GB over some of the options we don't think it is. So we think it's either going to be France, EIC, GB. GB is nice because you getting the reduction cost on like Lady of Threadneedle is actually pretty nice. Lady of Threadneedle Street, getting the 10% additional. It's like kind of a small one, the 15% loan interest rate, and I think that the 5% authority is also better. So this allows you to put down more edicts. So, like, to be fair, this is another advantage for GB. GB is going to be able to put down more edicts than any other country. If you're, or sorry, decrees or edicts, whatever they're called. And so this is one way in which you can effectively get more resources, because, like, as GB, you can do manufacturing decrees or resource decrees in these states. Or any state, but, like, obviously it would be Shaanxi, and, like, the fact that, I don't know if you're supposed to unform sovereign empire just so that you can do your thing, but, and then keeping everyone in government is tough, but there's maybe some wiggle in that your PB is actually better than the other ones. 5% isn't the most, but it's still, I suppose, non-zero. You also get migration attraction. It's easier to shuffle around pops relative to the prestige of France, but the prestige of France might be easier for conquest. And then the last option we'll put in is USA, because I think it's just not Circassia. Circassia is too slow to get the pops. Circassia is really cute. Maybe if the game was 200 or 300 years, it would be Circassia, but don't forget Ethiopia. We can't put Ethiopia in there. We only have 4 options. Why was Circassia mentioned again? I got here 10 minutes ago. So Circassia, they have a journal entry that eventually gives them 5% throughput on everything. Which, I think if the game went sufficiently long, would be really, really good, because 5% on everything that's like, specifically getting the throughput on, like, rubber. Rubber, often you run out of. You can use the rubber company. Eventually, you need to recomp your stuff towards companies, so you have to switch back to, interventionism and buy back a bunch of your resource industries that are owned by financial districts that aren't companies, and then resell them and do this repeatedly, while, like, pushing 1-200,000 construction. Wow. That's not the result I was expecting from you guys. Just overwhelmingly for GB. France, the idea is you could start as France and you can annex all of GB. You will have the French interest groups, and the substantive difference here is that French devout gives pop growth, which I think is probably... I think this is better than Protestant, but we're not giving the 5% authority. Well, they actually also have a unique one, but there's no authority or bureaucracy here. But importantly, there's no authority. They also do have a worse industrialist slightly, or sorry, better industrialist slightly. It used to be way better, but now I think it's just very, very slightly better. But they have a couple things that give prestige, which makes the world conquest stuff a little bit easier, because it's easier to decay people down in rank when you have more prestige. The EIC, USA doesn't get any bonus that makes it better than GB or France for migration, though. It starts with, like, the USA territories and has a faster start on that, but a big part of it is the plantation company, which, like, practically speaking, I don't think is that necessarily good. Yeah, maybe USA just shouldn't be in there, though. What were we looking at? Oh, for EIC, the big thing is manufacturing industries throughput. This is extremely strong. It's doubled when these guys are powerful. 20% manufacturing. For companies, you're going to mainly want to do resource industries anyways, because this is eventually what throttles you. And so you will have fewer throughput, company throughput on manufacturing industries. So this makes manufacturing industries throughput more valuable. It's like kind of an insane bonus. I think that the only other really big one, and this is a really big one, is the... I guess we don't hate authority, though. Dude, this is... I can't remember if the Protestants also get authority. But the Zamindars getting agriculture employee mortality minus, which is going to give a huge amount of pop growth during segments of the game where you have a lot of peasants. And you're going to be having a lot of peasants because you're trying to maximize pop, so you're going to be conquering a lot of peasants. So... French industrialists don't give throughput. Wait, never mind, I'm dumb. No, they give efficiency. But they don't give... or they give construction efficiency instead of investment efficiency. But, like, that was a lot better when you had the malice that eventually came as a result of your economy approaching 2 billion GDP. It was insano back then. But now, I think it's just slightly better. It's, like, multiplicatively effective with, like, construction or, like, investment efficiency. France for nicer color and Napoleon vibes. True. Statue of Liberty as well, but everyone gets Statue of Liberty is the thing. You're eventually running a full world conquest. But, like... I mean, if USA was Catholic instead, it could max pop growth a lot more. But here's the thing about USA. You could conquer a bunch of USA states early, but one of the strongest pop growth modifiers you can get, or actually the strongest pop growth modifier you can get, is from having unused arable land. So, USA is in the best position to do this. You see, you're getting plus 33% from Mississippi. This is because you have unused arable land. And you can take these pops... Or sorry, it's because you're underpopulated, not unused arable land. It's not the arable land, it's per arable land. If you're under 5,000, I think the number is, population per arable land, you get more of this modifier. So, 5,000 times this. So, was it 500,000 plus some, like 900,000. So as long as we're under 900,000 pops or whatever, we will have, is it 900,000? I'm just doing math stupid, aren't I? We're just gonna, I definitely did the math wrong. I think it's half what I said it was. This is why you never do math on stream, by the way. You, like, are just so much worse at it because you're trying to think about what you're saying and what you're going to say and what you're showing and what chat is seeing and, like, all these types of things. But 890k. I guess we did do the math right. So as long as we're under that, we're going to be getting pop growth modifier. Is that right? I'm uncertain how correct I am with this modifier, but the point is the modifier applies when you have a bunch of unused arable land, and you're going to, or not unused, it doesn't matter if it's used or not, when you have underpopulated areas. And so pulling pops into the underpopulated areas to gain more pop growth is going to be somewhat of a thing. I think it's kind of marginal, but... USA states that need migration are usually the last ones you conquer. I don't know if you necessarily do that, though. GB winning, I was not expecting. I wasn't either. I mean, I kind of think that it's... I mean, I didn't say who I thought it was because I didn't want to influence the vote. Now, I guess the vote is, like, we already have a lot of the people voting in here, so, but, like, 36 for... or sorry, 36 votes, and half are for GB. I kind of think it's EIC. But love your content, bro. Keep up the good work. Thank you so much. Is it possible to change your religion? No, it's not. If it were possible to change your religion, I would be way more Team GB. GB with Catholic would be some... that would be it, baby. To be fair, it might even be GB with Jewish. Actually. That's a lot harder to evaluate because it's hard to put like numbers on the value of getting antibiotics faster because you get more education access. I don't know how to, I don't know how to think through that. You ever tried to max, but you had like 3 billion in current patch with GB just annex own colonies? It's pretty solid. I think the theoretical upper end is probably 30 to 40 billion. And I haven't seen a screenshot. I don't think I've seen a screenshot like higher than 20 billion. Or I've seen Yankees fans screenshot higher than 20 billion, but that's with the juice from the market isolation added. GB into Ireland World Conquest. My 1-year-old is mad at me for typing too much. That's cute. You definitely have? Okay, I take it all back. I'm a liar and a fiend. It's like aesthetically displeasing when it's GB. Because GB is like the strongest start, like kind of in the abstract. And so if they also have the highest theoretical top end, it's also kind of like sad. It really should be possible to change religion, to be honest. Difficult but possible, I agree. She's listening to Sesame Street, and my keyboard is too loud. Terrible. He explains as he types more. Does ruler matter? I don't think ruler matters. You're going to want a certain ideology ruler at the end date, but I'm not sure what it is. I haven't even thought about that too much, but I think with parliamentary or whatever, you'll eventually figure that out. Let's maybe find someone to raid on Twitch, eh? Eh? I'm surprised at the results. I mean, I think a lot of the times I am wrong. It's like chat overwhelmingly thinks I'm wrong, probably. We rated Absolute Habibi yesterday. We could maybe run it back. I think he's playing his like multiplayer game where he's like trying to turn up as Turkey. Yeah, I mean, I think more people are voting for EIC now, but I think I'm tainting that well because I think it's EIC still. But could you change religion via uprising? I think you can. Super contrived to do it though. I don't know if it's worth you losing control of population for a long enough period to get it done for it to be worth it. I don't really know though. Swedish mine something to think about. It is. I guess we should take a quick look at that. I don't think it makes the cut, but it is something to mention. Is you get the mining bonus. The thing is, well, this is what he's talking about. I mean, overall, the bonuses are probably a little bit better than GBs, right? They're somewhat similar looking. The thing is I don't think you can get as many countries underneath good modifiers anywhere near as fast. You also have bad capitalists. Or your industrials are worse than vanilla. But no, that is absolutely like I think that's like in the Circassia realm of honorable mention. Where like it would be good if you could acquire the pops faster, but you can't. Like, you could maybe get something done with EIC in terms of global pop quite quickly, but after a certain point, it's like your consideration there is like, yeah, in the global pops. Alright, I think we're gonna raid and be on our way. There go the Twitch viewers. The raid has commenced. So now that they're gone, I'll let you guys, the YouTube viewers, know that you guys are my favorite. Except for a few of the Twitch viewers can still see us. So it's always funny to do that. And to the YouTubers, I bid you farewell. Adieu. Bye-bye. We will be showing the link for Habibi